Lime Rock is just super busy and the toughest track and the shortest track we go to all year.
Every lap is a near-wreck experience.
At Lime Rock, it's always 100% every single lap. It's by far the most brutal race we do all year.
It's just absolute mayhem.
It's so hard to pass here. You just got to force your way through, and you see, unfortunately, a lot of contact.
It's very, very difficult.
For the fans, it's one of the best tracks to watch the race.
Laps go by fast, 50 seconds.
There's no place like this in the world, really. 1.5 mile bull ring, head-to-head combat, never a let up on the track, and mixed classes of racing. It's going to be crazy.
This is the American Le Mans Series.
World-class drivers.
Premier road courses.
And cutting-edge technology. Born in France in 1923.
With the first running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The American Le Mans Series is the glory.
And the grueling reality of world-class sports car racing.
Drivers from around the world strut their speed, skill, and endurance.
Separate classes racing on the track at the same time.
It's the chain that connects the new and the true sports car fans
to an extraordinary racing tradition. This is the American Le Mans Series.
ESPN and the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, bring you the Northeast Grand Prix. Tucked into the streams and hills of Northwest Connecticut is one of the most beautiful settings you will ever find for a racetrack. But don't let the peaceful scene deceive you. Lime Rock is one tough place to race. Hello everybody, I'm Rick DeBrule. Welcome to the third round of the American Le Mans Series. You know, it's been 12 weeks, 3 full months since these teams and drivers battled it out on the streets of Long Beach. But now it's time to get back to work, and these drivers have a load ahead of them. They have 7 races over the next 13 weeks. That's quite a load, starting with a very tough track. Here at Lime Rock, it's a big battle ahead of them. But as they go through here today, they have 4 different classes that are going to crowd onto this track, starting with the P1 cars, the fastest, the most powerful. And the guys that are going to be starting up front is a team that calls this track their home. Based just an hour away in Poughkeepsie, New York, is Dyson Racing. And the first of our pit reporters, Kelly Stavis, is standing by with the guy who's starting on the pole.
Well, Chris Dyson set the LMP pole here on his home track at Lime Rock, and now for the second race in a row, the number 16 Dyson Racing Mazda will start from the pole position. But Chris, last race at Long Beach, you had that spot, but you lost the lead and the race to the Muscle Milk Aston Martin, so how can you hold them off today?
Well, we feel like we made a pretty big step in the gap between Long Beach and now, and you know, we've got the G-Oil Construct Corp mod space car up front here. The Mazda engine's been fantastic, Dunlop tires. You know, we've been doing our homework the last couple of months, and we're looking to come out the second half of this season smoking.
And they'll have a new sister car alongside of them. For more on today's storylines, we turn it over to Bill Adam and Johnny O'Connell.
You know, Bill, in P1 today, I'm looking for an exciting battle. You know, starting first and second, both Dyson cars. They've added another car to their stable, another very strong effort. But, you know, starting third, you've got Klaus Groff and Lucas Luhr in the Muscle Milk car. Okay, Klaus won last year, and I really don't think that they got the best out of their car yesterday in qualifying. But no matter how you look at it, these cars were within 3/10. The fans here at Lime Rock are going to be seeing an amazing battle today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle royal because they have to not only fight against each other, but wind their way through an intense GT field. All of these manufacturers are once again resuming the incredible intercorporate battles. BMW, Corvette, the Ford GTs are suddenly very fast. The Risi Ferrari had a little bit of a problem. They're right there with the qualifying speed. So this is going to make an unreal battle on the track. Very short, and one of the key things to the GT cars is not to lose touch with their class leader. If that happens and one of the overall prototypes happens to lap them when a yellow flag comes out, they instantly lose a lap. They can't afford that to happen, so tremendous pressure. One of the really nice surprises this weekend so far, though, has been the resurgence of Porsche. They have come back with a vengeance, and with more on that, let's go down to Jamie Howe.
Coming into the 2011 season, BMW has been dominant. They've won the opening 2 rounds, and today they start the race 1 and 2. But Porsche is closer than they've ever been, starting third with Patrick Long and Jörg Bergmeister. Jörg, you won the last 5 GT races here at Lime Rock Park. Does the Porsche have enough to get your 6th?
Yeah, it's a good track here for us. Patrick did a really good job in qualifying, and also in warm-up the car was really quick. I think in the race we're going to be definitely much closer than we were in qualifying, so I'm looking forward to it.
Another team hoping to be closer is Corvette Racing, and Kelly, they're coming in with a little bit of extra momentum.
Yeah, Jamie, there's been a lot of smiles at Corvette these days because they took full advantage of that break by going over to France and winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Tommy Milner was a part of that team. And Tommy, what does it mean to come back home now with a title from such a prestigious race?
It's great for sure. I mean, that was a big focus for us at Corvette Racing was Le Mans, and to get the win there was very special. I mean, for me especially, first year with the team, you know, American on the team, you know, American kid driving an American icon like the Corvette is very special. And I mean, but now we're here with the complete opposite of Le Mans, Lime Rock, Connecticut, you know, 1.7 mile, whatever racetrack it is. Basically all right-hand turns, you know, quite a bit different than what we saw at Le Mans. But we're still, you know, sort of in the same position we were in Le Mans there. You know, pace-wise, I think we're just a little bit off of the cars ahead of us, but we're not too far behind. So this is a race that's tough. You know, you have to really make sure that you get through traffic very well. That's the biggest part here is just traffic. So if we can stay out of other cars' way, and I think we'll be okay at the end there.
Well, before Tommy can find another victory, he's going to have to master Lime Rock. Short, fast, and lots of traffic, and the traffic has been the key. Bill and Johnny, take us around the rock.
The Lime Rock racetrack is only 1.5 miles long and only 7 corners, with the best passing spot on the whole track right there at the end of that front straight. An area of extremely heavy braking where you actually have to start backing off the brake pedal. Some modulation to take you through turns 2 to set up for this. A rarity here. The only left-hand corner on the whole racetrack. And finally, turn 4, a critical spot to carry speed through there onto the no-name back straight, John.
Yeah, and no-name back straight. It's moving all over the place. It goes a little left, a little right. There's bumps. The cars are accelerating in the 5th gear, sometimes 6th gear, going into the chicane, which is at turn 5. You're changing down to 2nd gear, trying to get through that corner cleanly, accelerating back up through the gearbox into turn 6. One of the most fun corners on the racetrack, West Bend. You're in 5th gear, some cars 4th gear, trying to carry that momentum, then down the hill through turn 7. Critical corner with very little runoff room at the end. You'll have to get through 7 quickly to make that overtaking move going into turn 1, but 1.5 miles, man, this many cars, it's going to be chaos.
Now let's hand it over to the two guys. We're going to call the race on ESPN3 today, John Heinhoff and Jeremy Shaw.
Well, it's been a few weeks since Jeremy Shaw and I were at an ALMS race, but things haven't stood still. Jeremy, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes.
That's right, John. Several of the teams have added an extra string to their boat since the last race at Long Beach. In GT Challenge, the defending champion team, Black Swan Racing, they've added a number 34 Green Hornet car alongside their own number 54 car. In the prototype ranks, John Field is back. He's back again for Intersport Racing, but now in an LMP Challenge car. And in the big prototypes, Dyson Racing, they're based only about an hour away in Poughkeepsie, New York. They've added a second Lola Mazda in their bid to win the LMP1 championship.
And there's been development as well. RSR Jaguar have spent 20 hours in the wind tunnel, and they've been on the track at Road Atlanta. Not the only GT team who've used this downtime for track time.
The Falcon Porsche team, they've tested 2 days at Mid-Ohio, 2 days at Road America, and also Brian Sellers, he has done 2 days of tyre testing with Falcon in Japan. That team is ready.
They're not the only team who've been abroad and outside of the US while we've been on break, as Jamie Howe can tell us now.
Robertson Racing is still riding the high of their podium finish at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. David Robertson and Andrea Robertson are the first and only husband and wife duo to finish on the podium at the prestigious event. So Andrea, as you look back on Le Mans, what is winning or what is finishing on the podium do to your confidence in yourself and in the team?
It's greatly increased, I think, everybody's confidence, knowing that we knew we had something in us all along. We just weren't able to have the angels give us a little bit of luck, and for whatever reason, everything fell into place at Le Mans. I mean, a big 24-hour race. It's just, when we sit back and think about it, we had drama the week before, we had some issues. Everything smoothed out, sorted out, and the whole event went smoothly like clockwork. So, yeah, big boost for everybody.
Lots of confidence down here at Robertson Racing, but Kelly, this weekend, Risi Competizione is feeling the low.
Yes, indeed. It was a late night for the Risi Competizione crew. After an incident yesterday in practice, Tony Vielander got into it with one of the BMWs, and Dave Sims, his team manager. Dave, what was the extent of the damage, and how confident are you that you have a car out there that's 100%?
It was very extensive. The guys worked till 3 o'clock this morning. We're very confident of the engineering job they did, which was very, very considerable to do it at a track. It's a normal thing you would do in the workshop. But they did a fantastic job. And yeah, it came on the scales this morning perfectly. And we got it down to him, so to the tech, and it was perfect. I mean, it was exactly the same car as it was when we started yesterday.
Well, that's good news, and these guys were fourth quick in this morning's warm-up, so we'll see how they turn out in the race.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, 2 of the 4 classes here we've talked about, prototypes and, of course, the GT field as they pull away. There are 2 others, the LMP Challenge and the GT Challenge. And let's go down to Genoa Racing at the front of that LMPC grid.
Yes, and it was Elton Julian who posted the fastest time in qualifying yesterday. Elton starting the car on pole for the first time this season. You won here last year, but your old co-driver, Gunnar Jeanette, is starting right behind you. Does that add to the angst of today's race?
I think it's a cool thing that happened. I mean, it's good to have us in different cars this year, give us a chance to play together. So it'll be good fun to see what happens in the end. But no matter what, it's somebody that I like a lot, and it's just fun to be around.
Traffic is always key here at Lime Rock Park. You're an LMP Challenge. What's it going to be like for you?
Well, we're a bit of the meat and the sandwich. I mean, we got it coming from both ends, so it wouldn't be... we have to be cautious, be aware, be alert, but also we have to attack. So got to keep moving forward. That's the idea.
Got to keep moving forward, and it's a 2-hour and 45-minute sprint race, so good luck.
Thank you.
Well, they've got it all to do, but at least they start at the head of their particular pack, and there they are going off the grid for the first of 3 warm-up laps around the 1.5 miles here at Lime Rock Park. The men at the front of the field, well, the 16 car. Where's the number 20? It starts in pit lane after a small electrical fire on the pre-grid. That's a problem for the brand new team of Oryx Dyson Racing. Hamed Al Masood joining in at the back of the pack as they go into turn 1 for the first laps after we've got the race underway. There is that number 20 car, resplendent in its new colour. It was the 16 car from the early part of the season, and this will be now a full season entry for the rest of the American Le Mans Series. And it pulls out of its pit box now to get ready to join the fray as the rest of the field are around the far side of the circuit in what are picture perfect conditions. My goodness me, what a contrast from earlier on in the week when thunder and lightning have been the order of the day. Here's someone that I'm delighted to welcome back in the American Le Mans Series. John Field is with Jamie.
Yes, and I think John Field has been happy to be here all weekend. I've never seen you without the smile on your face, but now you're back in LMPC. What's the difference between the prototypes and LMPC?
Not a whole lot, just power. You know, that the same car, it's P1 car. It's you just got to figure out the setup a little better. Here you don't have the power to save maybe a mixed up setup, so it's fun.
It's going to be fun. We've got a couple more laps before we go back to green, guys.
So John Field back with us.
Hi, welcome to Lime Rock in the American Le Mans Series Northeast Grand Prix.
Hi, I'm Jörg Bergmeister, and that's my teammate Patrick Long, and enjoy the race.
That's our Porsche welcome to the third round of the American Le Mans Series, as we'll take a look at the guys who will start at the head of their respective classes. The people who have set all new lap records on this new configuration of Lime Rock Park. In LMP1, Chris Dyson and Guy Smith. Chris did the time and will start the race in the number 16 Dyson racing car. Elton Julian did the time, but it'll be Eric Lux who starts the race for the 63 Paul Sitter in Prototype Challenge. In GT, it's an all BMW affair on the front row. Joey Hand did the time and will start the number 56 Rahal Letterman Lanneman BMW Motorsport entered car. And in GTC, Peter Lasafra and Jaap van Lagen. It was Peter that will start the car. Jaap did the time in qualifying yesterday. So we are on the countdown to green. Jeremy Shaw, your final thoughts before we get round 3 of the American Le Mans Series underway.
Stand back. That's about it. Sums it up rather well. It's going to be a great race. I mean, all of the classes here are very, very competitive. In some of the classes, there's not that many cars, but the cars that are there are very closely matched. This is going to be a classic.
So just the 2 P1 cars or prototype cars on the front of the field, with, remember, the 20 car coming out of the pits when the field has gone through. Might not be the worst thing. Waiting for the green flag, and it's good. Chris Dyson gets the hammer down. as Lucas Luhr tries to come round the outside in the big V12 Aston Martin. The two Lola Coupes lead out from the LMP Seafield as they go around Big Bend for the first time, and it's a nice clean start looking back through the GT categories. Oh, it looks like the Flying Lizard's coming round the outside. In GT, it's Patrick Long who looks for second position, and I think he's got down the inside. He has done. He's made a marvellous pass through the S's on the first time, and it looks like the Corvettes are hunting together in packs as Pat just has to defend into the uphill chicane for the first time. Also, right up there, the 04, the silver and yellow of Robertson Racing in that Ford GT. And Pat Long's got a cracking start from the second row of the grid, their best starting position this season, Jeremy Shaw, and he's making hay with that as the sun shines.
Yeah, it was amazing, the advantage the BMW has had in qualifying here. This is one of their home races. Their BMW North American headquarters are not far away from here in New Jersey, but that car, that Flying Lizard Porsche, number 45 car with the yellow band across the top of the windscreen. Patrick Long at the wheel now. Jörg Bergmeister will take it over later on. Bergmeister, he's won 5 straight races here. Absolutely amazing record. And Patrick's won 3 races as well in recent years. This team, it's really out to get in amongst those BMWs, and Patrick has done that right away.
Yeah, I think they realised that it's not been the best start to the international motorsport season for Porsche here in the States or further afield, and this is the chance to put it right. And here is the big chance for Patrick Long, who's looming large in the mirrors of the 56 on the Joey Hand car as they come down to complete another lap. Let's head to the pits.
Talking with Patrick Long yesterday following qualifying, he told me that the crew actually wanted him to come in before he posted his quickest lap, but he felt in his gut that he had a little bit more left in the car. He did his fastest lap on his last lap, and he said going into the race he has a very well-balanced car that he thinks is going to be quick in the hot conditions.
Well, Pat hasn't been, thanks Jimmy, Pat hasn't been sitting around doing nothing, far from it. He's been racing all over Europe in the Le Mans Series, the ILMC, and in fact was robbed of a podium spot in the GTE AM category just last week at Imola, when a slight tactical error meant he stayed in the car, ironically, too long, 15 minutes too long, and it cost him a podium.
And in between, we're on board now in the third place car of Dirk Werner in GT, and that is the LMP Challenge car of Jarrett Boone, who is now falling back from the other cars in the LMPC, and those two leaders now in GT have got past him, but this is a battle for the lead.
And Lucas Luhr looking forward from the cockpit of the Aston Martin powered Muscle Milk Lola Coupe as they go across the line and down into the uphill chicane. They've got traffic already, and it's one of the RSR Jaguars, that's Cristiano De Mata, who's dropped away from the back of the field. By the way, Hamad Al-Masoud in the number 16 Oryx Dyson car as the leader steam passed through the downhill. Ooh, that is bumpy when you're offline there, isn't it? The scream of the V12 Aston Martin behind Lucas Luhr. Yeah, Hamid Al-Masoud has got started from the pit lane, and he's clawing his way up through the field at the moment. He's third in P1, of course, but 30th overall. He'll need to get through a lot of traffic, and he'll want to stay on the lead lap, Jeremy.
He will indeed, and Cristiano De Mata, they're really struggling in the early stages. That number 99 Jaguar is qualified very, very well by Bruno Junqueira. 9 of those 2 former IndyCar drivers have had any time on this track before, but they're learning quickly. But Cristiano, he's only had about 3 quick hot laps coming into the race.
And there is the problem. There is Masoud in the fabulously coloured, the white, black and yellow machine. That's going to make a nice 43rd scale model. Note that Lucas Luhr got caught up, and the leader gets caught up behind the Robertson Racing, the Pelotti sponsored car. Here comes Luhr down the outside. It's a long way around into Big Ben, but maybe he has the ponies to do it. Last of the late breakers, Chris Dyson holds it back.
That sums up this track perfectly. You get a break in traffic at one corner, you lose out in traffic at the next, and that gave Lucas Luhr an opportunity to almost get alongside, but not quite. So it's still Chris Dyson in that 16 car that holds on to the lead. You can see how close it is.
Lime Rock giveth, Lime Rock taketh away. And they're coming up on the Oryx car, who, that is real heads-up driving by Al-Masoud in his first American Le Mans Series race. He's in a quick car and wanting to come through the field, but he didn't want to get involved in the lead battle.
No, that's you're absolutely right. Very heads-up driver. He doesn't have an awful lot of experience. He's driven radical sports cars in the Middle East, done some racing in Europe in GT4. And here again, the Aston Martin looks to have a run on the straight, but Chris Dyson hogging that inside line as he's going down the front straight. That gives him the optimal line into turn one. But as that number 20 car for Al Masoud, that gives him an opportunity now to tuck in behind the two race leaders and really learn from those guys.
Yeah, and let them effectively be the pathfinder. They're going through and running interference. Means all the cars ahead will be watching those blue flags, watching the mirrors. It's hardest to be the first man up through the traffic, and that's Chris Dyson at the moment, trailed as they go towards the uphill again. Past the GMG Porsche, no, doesn't get it done, and they are nose and tail going through the chicane.
And these are the leaders in GT Challenge, the white and blue car, the blue and white car to the right of the screen there. That is the GMG car of James Sofronis. He has got himself through into the lead of GT Challenge in the early stages, with last year's champion team number 54 car, Damien Faulkner at the wheel in second place. Tim Pappas, I should say, in second place.
Down towards Big Ben for the leaders. The laps just rip off so quickly here.
Boy.
In the last few races, I've been at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, which is a 10.5-minute lap. We've been at Le Mans, which is over 3-minute lap. Slightly got myself back into it at Imola with a 1-minute odd lap, but this at 51 seconds is just mind-bendingly quick. Might be one of the shortest tracks of the American Le Mans series, but the average speed right up there among the fastest, and the two leaders are tied together with a very, very short piece of bungee cord at the moment, as Lucas Luhr is tucked right up under the rear wing of the leader, Chris Dyson, and it is so hard to do that, Jeremy. The amount of concentration from both of these drivers, just outstanding.
You just don't have an instant to relax around here. I mean, this is the only place here on the front straight, but it is all action here at Lime Rock Park.
And there's the lead down at the inside of Big Bend underneath the ESN car. I just think they've got through as we head off down towards the far side of the circuit. It looked to me as though Lucas Luhr gets his nose right up the inside, and the lead change, certainly a big challenge from Lucas Luhr. No, he's still got the Dyson G-Oils car ahead of him as they explode back into our vision at the top of the uphill, and if anything, the ESM car for a moment looked like it was going to hand the lead to Lucas Luhr, but again, Chris Dyson making use of the power. Remember, two very different engines here, Jeremy. We've got the little 4-cylinder, very peaky, turbocharged engine in the first of those Lola Coupes, and my goodness me, the big 6-litre V12, normally aspirated, lower revving, sounds fantastic, but stacks of torque.
Yeah, I think there've been changes to these cars over the winter from last year. That 6-litre V12 Aston Martin, it's been strangled somewhat. The ACO, the organising body behind both the Le Mans 24 Hours and the American Le Mans Series, they've tried to slow down the big prototypes, the LMP1 cars. They've done that by demanding smaller engines. If you're building a new engine for LMP1, it's got to be smaller capacity. Or if you can run these older cars, they're called they're kind of the grandfather cars to keep them into the race, but they have to be restricted. So that is why that little 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo Mazda is able to stay just about on a par with that V12 Aston Martin.
Now, as we kind of dare say this, but as we sort of settle down for a moment and can take our breath here as the leaders are on lap number 11. One of the big things that we haven't talked about yet, Jeremy, is tactics. Now, tactics can win you or lose you a race in any of the ALMS races. 2 hours and 45 minutes, time certain. But here, particularly here, because of the shortness of the lap, it's crucial to get pit stop strategy right.
It certainly is, and there are all sorts of keys to this race. Patience is a big one, and as you say, strategy when you make those pit stops are very, very important as well. And even what you do during a pit stop, do you have to change tyres? Do you change just 2 tyres instead of 4 tyres? There's all sorts of things you can do, and even driver fatigue is going to come into play here. The temperature, it's hot today. It's a real workout around this track, both mentally and physically, and that is going to take it out of the drivers. Some of the teams, they might make 2 driver changes during this 2 3/4 hour race. It's an unusual way to go, but it might be the best way to go here at Lime Rock Park.
And you're watching live coverage on ESPN3.com.
Welcome to those in Europe on Motors TV and in Canada on Rogers Sportsnet 1. Good to have your company for the first time this season on the American Le Mans Series as we spread our sports car wings even further as the leaders continue to battle. And Lucas Luhr has a little cheeky look up the right-hand side going into the West Bend, but wasn't quite close enough.
Yeah, I'd much rather be driving that number 6 muscle milk car. You've got a wobble there coming down to the downhill corner. Yeah, but I'd much rather be in that number 6 car than the 16. Chris Dyson, he's really got his work cut out. He's the guy who comes across the traffic first of all, and you know, he's got to work his way through. Lucas Luhr, he could just look for any openings. If Chris gets held up just a fraction, Lucas will try and dive in there and take an advantage. He's looking there, hoping that Dyson will get held up behind that TRG Porsche going into the left-hander there. I love the naming of the corners here. We've got the left-hander, it's the only left-hander on the track. We've got, this is no name straightaway. Then we're coming up here to the uphill corner because it goes uphill. And then the next corner, that's the westernmost end of the racetrack, so it's called West Bend. And then after that we've got the diving turn or the downhill onto the front straightaway.
That's our new leader in Prototype Challenge. It is the 37 that has come through. James Kovacic, who is up into 3rd place overall, and it's not beyond the bounds of possibility, with a bit of sneaky tactics, Jeremy, that we could see a Prototype Challenge car that may well just get an advantage over the two P1 cars that are out in front. Yes, they're not lapping quite, although last time around he was 2 seconds quicker than the guys ahead of him, but that's traffic. But he's keeping them in sight, and that is going to be key if he stays on the lead lap. Meantime, back in the leaders, and right mired now in the GT battle, and this is danger time, big danger time for Chris Dyson.
Yeah, because these are the quick cars in the GT category, and they are very, very closely matched, and these GT cars are pretty quick as well, so to make your way around them, you've got to be careful.
Inside the top 10 of the GT, who are lapping the GTCs. Oh, was there a little touch there between the 66 GTC car and the leader? May have just ran up the back of Chris Dyson, and here comes Lucas Luhr. He gets a great run onto the start-finish straight. Now let's have a look at this bump coming through behind. Is there a touch here? Yes, there is. Just a tiny one, maybe. But let's hope that didn't cut the tyre.
It was certainly very, very close there. Lucas Luhr just pushing as hard as he can, but driving very sensibly. He's not doing anything stupid. It's very easy here to really make a lunge there and try and be forceful, but the chances are on this tight track, if you try and be forceful, it's going to come back and backfire against you. Here we are now right up behind the Risi Competizione Ferrari. That is a car that's been repaired since its crash yesterday.
7th position in the GT battle. Different engines in these Lola Coupes, different tyres as well, Jeremy.
Indeed, the Dunlop tyres on the leading blue, white and green car of Chris Dyson, and Michelin's on the muscle milk white, black and red car of the Lola Aston Martin right behind him. Look into the inside. I think the Lola Aston Martin, the 2nd place car number 6, has a slight straight line speed advantage, but it is very slight, and it's not enough to get a run. You get a little bit of a draft, a little bit of a slipstream on the main front straightaway, but it's not quite enough for Lucas Luhr to be able to duck to the inside and pull off that out-braking manoeuvre into Big Ben.
Coming up with a very powerful and very talky Corvettes in the GT battle, and again this is where does Chris Dyson look? I have no idea. He must have a head like an owl at the moment. It's rotating on his neck. He's got to be so aware of everything, not just ahead of him but behind him. They're lapping the GTC leader again. They're lapping the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th in the GT, and he's got Lucas Luhr right up his tailpipes.
That is great, isn't it? There is the number 4 Corvette. That is Jan Magnussen running 4th place in GT. And the Corvette is, was very, very close behind the 2nd of the BMWs as well. So there are battles all the way up and down the field here. But we just saw the LMP Challenge leader a few laps ago, James Kovacic. He's only 17 years of age, I should say. The youngest driver in the field by quite some margin. And he is doing a stellar job, 3rd place overall.
In the GT battle, it's Joey Hand just going a lap down there to the leaders, who is leading it out from Patrick Long. No, he's not actually, that is his teammate, my apologies. Yep. That was Dirk Werner with Jan Magnussen and Olivier Beretta behind him. We've yet to come to the GT leaders. Joey Hand has got Pat Long behind him by just over a second as they come across the line. It's Chris Dyson by just on 0.6 of a second. We're on 18 laps here of 2 hours and 45 minutes. 2 hours and 30 of that still to go at Lime Rock Park. Well, we're at Lime Rock Park for round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, and Chris Dyson leads by half a second over Lucas Lowe, the 16 from the 6. The two Lola Coupes, one with Mazda power, the second place car with Aston Martin power. Then a heck of a scrap going on for LMPC, with Gonzalez leading in the 06 car from James Kovacic, and Eric's looks just dropping away a little bit now as the leaders are once again in big traffic. Joey Hand has cleared out in the GT category. Some 5 seconds he was a few moments ago ahead of Patrick Long. Pat's pulled that back just a wee bit, but they then are a good 10 seconds up the road from the rest of the battle. What we've got here, Jeremy, is a race between these two Lola Coupes at the head of the field, 16 and 6, and we could see this all the way through to the first pit stops, just like this now, with a telephone directory between them. A very small telephone directory at that.
There is nothing to choose. I mean, they're on the same page with that director here at Lime Rock Park, these two. I tell you what, it's a great battle. And again, Lucas Lewis looking to the inside, but Chris Dyson there, he's defending that inside line.
Let's go down to Jamie in the pits with more on the Aston Martin.
Talking to Lucas Lohr earlier in the week, he said managing the traffic at Lime Rock is definitely going to be the key. His team worked out that given the ratio of GT cars to prototypes, every 2 seconds around this track, it's going to be his responsibility to overtake a GT car, and doing it cleanly in the early stages of this race is going to be key, because Muscle Milk is looking to repeat on their win here last year.
Yeah, it was a magnificent race here last year. In fact, seldom have we had anything other than really great events here at Lime Rock Park. And traffic, as Jamie mentioned quite correctly, always going to be a key part of what goes on here. To have the same kind of... Oh, and here's a real challenge for the leaders. Lucas Lowe, for the first time, I think, got his nose ahead across the line. He did by 0.004 of a second, but he can't make it stick going into turn number 1. So there was a change of lead at the line, but by Big Ben, turn 1, the right-hander, it had gone back to Chris Dyson. Just to finish my point, to get the same traffic density that we've got here at Lime Rock this weekend at Le Mans, you'd have to run about 130 cars. Seriously, the maths has been done, not by me.
That is great, and that was a fascinating contest, wasn't it, when they came down that front straight, because the lighter Chris Dyson car was able to get on the brakes just a little bit later, going into Big Bend, into turn 1, and just able to maintain that advantage. But Chris Dyson, he's having to be very, very defensive.
Let's go down to Kelly with more news from Dyson.
Well, and this is Chris Dyson's home track, as we've mentioned, but that's not the only reason he loves it. He just said, oh man, I love the high speeds here. This is one of my favorite places to come to. He said the key is really to get a good balance in the car, and obviously through qualifying they felt like they had that. Now they've got 150 people or so here, so he said, hey, no pressure, but we definitely want to put on a good race for our fans. And he also said, a lot of people tend to go insane here. We better hope everyone just keeps cool.
It's Lime Rock Park. It's Lime Rock Park, and as ever, patience, skill, and a little bit of lady luck playing their part as the leaders are still lockstep as they go under the bridge and plunge downhill to the diving bend, the last corner. Now let's go back to the GT battle as through goes the 56 of Joey Hand, and he has got something like 8 seconds in hand over Patrick Long in the 45 Flying Lizard. That's the one with the yellow shade band in second place. And then, oh, and off has gone the BMW, and that is the 55 leading car of Joey Hand. How has he got caught up with that?
No, it was 55 car. That's Dirk Werner who is off the road. Tangled together there with one of the Corvettes. That is the red shade band car. That is car number 3. And you can see there weaving around.
He's got suspension damage on the left front. Is it both Corvettes? It is both Corvettes. Both Corvettes and the 55 BMW are in big trouble heading towards pit lane, with rear end damage and front end damage on the Vets, and both of the Vets are heading out of pit lane straight behind the wall. And it was the 55 of Joey Hand getting caught up with the 18. It was the 02 spinning in front of them, That's the Extreme Speed Motorsport car of Ed Brown, and almost takes out the Oryx Racing Dyson as well. So 4 cars in that.
On board here with Dirk Werner, you can see there's a touch there.
Oh, he got touched.
Yep.
Oh, that's a big hit.
And of course, Dirk Werner jammed on the brakes there, and the Corvette behind him absolutely nowhere to go, either of them. That was just you talked about Lady Luck a few minutes ago, John Heindhoff, and that was just bad luck for the Corvette. So let's go down to Jamie Howe.
Yes, both Corvettes in pit lane, and it looks like almost identical damage. They're both damaged on the left front of the car. This team has done a lot of practice work after Le Mans, getting this bodywork off, getting it back on. Cars were rebuilt following Le Mans. These are the Le Mans running cars. Right now, crew hard at work. They have the yellow helicopter tape out, trying to get the bodywork up. Spending time in pit lane here at Lime Rock Park, you're guaranteed to go laps down. And right now, Corvette Racing is missing out. Kelly?
And obviously, a lot of damage down here on that 55 BMW as well, driven by Dirk Werner. And after they tore away the bodywork there on the right front, now looks like they're taking out the suspension along with some other problems. They've got the hood off, and the crew hard at work trying to get to the root of the problems that they'll have to fix down here at the 55.
Absolutely no blame to be attached to any of the GT drivers there. Ed Brown was tipped into a spin by Jarrett Boone in the number 18, the LMPC Performance Tech Motorsports cars that he shares with Anthony Nicolosi. So here's the new battle for third in GT, with debris all over the track as well, further back up No Name Straight, and it's the Risi Competizione car now in 4th place, with Tony Villander battling with David Murray in the 04 Robertson Ford.
Yeah, that yellow and silver Ford GT with the 5-litre Elan engine, and these guys are doing a fabulous job. That is the sister car to the car with which David and Andrea Robertson were third in the GTE amateur class at Le Mans 24 Hours. This is the other car, the teammates, this is the 2 professionals, David Murray and Anthony Lazari, sharing this 04 car. And it was a great effort yesterday in qualifying by Anthony Lazaro, but now David Murray, he's using all of his experience here, and he's got himself, sure, with a little bit of luck, but up into 3rd place in this class. Fantastic.
Oh, there's a touch. Ooh. There's a touch there. That's the 2nd place in LMPC. That's Eric Lux going around in the 63. And again, the Oryx Dyson car is the first car on the scene, and somehow Al Masood has managed to miss 2 big accidents. What a start to his American Le Mans Series career for the Middle East driver, and he's been right in the thick of it now. That was, well, it's a great piece of driving by David Murray to keep the car straight. I don't think it was a smart piece of driving, in fairness, by Eric Lux up on the curb. Well, really wasn't room there.
I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, I was thinking it was David Murray. Was David trying to make the pass there?
No, he was.
There was a lap between those two. I think it was Eric Lux who was trying to put a lap.
He's coming through. He was in 2nd place in the PC category, which now goes to Kovacic again.
Look at these two side by side, though.
And that is a change for position, Jeremy,
yes,
right there. As David Murray, perhaps still a little bit rattled from that contact, and with the slippery surface flags out at the scene of the crime, has allowed Tony Villander through there.
Yeah, I don't think the yellow's right. It's just a slippery surface flag, so the pass is legitimate. But this time, it was Tony Villander there in that bright red Risi Competizione Ferrari was able to pin David Murray behind a slower car, going through the left-hander and then duck ahead, going in onto No Name Straight.
It's a dangerous manoeuvre. I don't like to see those prototypes diving down the inside, going into the final corner, because eventually the GT car has got to pull in. You've really got to get that pass done well before the apex, well before the turning point, in fact, for the GT car, because those guys do not want to get offline onto the dirt, onto the bits of rubber, the marbles, and it already, after only 30 laps, there is a line appearing, and there is debris on the outside of it. It's very warm here today, and the tyres from whatever tyre company, and thank goodness we do have still tyre battles in the American Le Mans Series with Falcon and Dunlop, as well as Michelin, all here, and Yokohama as well. You can see there on that shot that on the outside of the line, the little bits of rubber, what the drivers call marbles. Why do they call them marbles? Because it's like driving on marbles as the leaders come down towards the final turn, and it's very, very tight indeed as they come across the line. This time, Chris Dyson and Lucas Löhr are separated by less than a third of a second. through traffic and down towards Big Bend again. It's a 1/10 of a second, and Lucas Luhr's having a good look once again round the front of the field as the work continues down in the pits for the GM Chevy Corvette team, and that is a very, very used Corvette in the number 4 pit. So the leaders then in class continue to circulate, but this is a disaster for the Corvette team. Both of the cars. Let's go down to Jamie Howe in the pit lane, who's in between those two Corvettes, and that is a work in progress. Jamie.
Both Corvettes still on pit road. Work continues on the number 3 and the number 4 car. The number 4 car looks like it may have gotten the easiest of the run. They were ready to send the car back out, but pit lane officials telling the team you have to have all of the body work on in order to do that. So the team taking extra time in pit lane right now, trying to get all of the body work to fit back on. The number 3 car, though, is broken front suspension. Team hard at work to get that taken care of. They already have a new nose out and ready to put onto the car. This Corvette racing team has done nothing but homework, and now their homework is being put to the test.
I'm very surprised, Jeremy, thanks Jamie, that they did not take those cars behind the wall. I thought for a moment they'd waved them past the pit. That wasn't the case, and the advantage of that is that more people can work on the cars. At the moment, that looks like a model kit in pieces on your dining room table.
It is amazing how much work they're doing in this car. I mean, the entire front suspension is apart on that car, and you're only allowed 4 guys to go over the wall and work on the car at any one time. And also, number 55 BMW, that's still down there on pit lane as well.
As you can see, they've got a full set of tools out on the surface of the pit lane, and more stuff to come out. Oh, as I say, never a good thing when they're bringing out more grey boxes. There's a whole corner being taken off there with a caliper and a stub axle that's either about to come off, about to go on, or has come off. Meanwhile, let's not neglect what's at the front of the field, because Chris Dyson and Lucas Luhr are, I was going to say, blissfully unaware of that. Well, Lucas isn't, of course, because he had to drive around it, and they're hammering down the front straight at somewhere near 170 miles an hour before they break into the first corner, Big Bend. It's all about patience. It's a 2 pressure corner, or a 2 apex corner. Sorry, I was in the bobsleigh mode there for a moment, a bit early in the year for that. As they then head into the S's, and again there's traffic, and ahead of them they've got the second place GT car of Patrick Long, who is just been holding his own about 10 seconds ahead of Tony Vielander in 3rd place now. But Tommy Dreesy is 8 seconds up the roads, in fact more than that. He's well up the roads. Joey Hand leading that category. He's got Tommy Dreesy between them as the leaders head down the hill, and there's a change of lead, Jeremy, through that traffic. The number 6 car of Lucas Luhr makes the pass.
It does indeed, and you've got a clear run coming down the downhill there across the line. This is the 2nd time in the lead for this number 6 car, but the first time he's able to maintain that advantage into Big Bend. So we've got to change the leader. Car number 6 now leads from number 16. You can see the gap between them as they're going around the left-hander here onto No Name Straight, but Lucas Luhr, all that pressure has finally paid off. He's been knocking on the door, on the rear bumper almost, of that number 16 car for 35 laps since the beginning of this race. He's finally made that move stick. Will he now be able to pull away?
Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? And what happens to Chris Dyson's state of mind? He's been concentrating on keeping that Aston Martin-powered Muscle Milk Lola Coupe behind him. Now he's got to try and keep him in sight, and it looks from the first couple of laps as though Lucas Luhr has been sprung as a cork from the bottle, and he's just done a 47.795, fastest lap of the race, to a 48.8, and all of a sudden he's a second and a half away, and that really has broken the toe. But look at the traffic ahead of him.
That's right, he's got 3 cars there going through the S's here, which he's going to have to contend with. He's not going to get through that lot cleanly, is he? He's got past 2 of them already. That's quite remarkable. And that means Chris Dyson has to do the same now coming into the uphill.
Almost into the back of the leader, and Chris Dyson has to take the escape road going up the uphill, and that was that's the 89 car, isn't it, of Tommy Dreesy.
Yeah, one of the two Intersport racing cars. You can see them side by side going up the hill. They're identical colours on these 2 cars coming towards us right now, but I think you're right, that was Tommy Dreesy.
Yeah, it was the Planet of the Apes car. Yeah.
fifth place in LMP Challenge, and Tommy there just got a little bit caught out. He left his braking a bit too late, locked him up, and Chris Dyson had nowhere to go but into the escape road there. That's going to cost him a lot of ground.
How close was he to hitting the back of the leader, though? That's the thing. Lucas must have heard, even with all the noise in that cockpit, he would have heard the squeal of tyres, and there's nothing he could do. He's just hoping that he doesn't get the big bump from behind. The Planet of the Apes making somewhat of a monkeys of it down that part of the circuit. But now, here comes Lucas Luhr in splendid isolation with 4.6 seconds to the good the last time he went across the line. And this is great news for Greg Pickett's Muscle Milk team as he heads towards the GT leader. And past him, as easy as that. My goodness me, there's not a lot of room here. But Lucas, well, it's the premiere of Harry Potter, the latest episode of that, and Lucas is working his magic here at Lime Rock Park at the moment as he goes round the outside of Bruno Junqueira. Meantime, Chris Dyson is battling in the midst of the GT cars with the number 40 Ford GT of Andrea Robertson, who took the start, and once again Andrea proving that she is a more than adequate GT driver, taking the start at a very busy track and holding her own very well down in 9th position, and hanging on to the back of the quicker GTC cars. Just about got the PJ Jones Jaguar, the number 98 car, a little bit further ahead of her. That's her. That would be what she's aiming at, but she's got a lot of traffic between her and the leader is now again in GTC. And I mean, basically, Jeremy, every corner, if you get 2 corners without any traffic, you've got to think yourself lucky here.
You absolutely have. I mean, it is just non-stop action. As we said before, there just really isn't a moment to relax around here. I mean, as we say that, you know, he does go through 1 corner, maybe even 2 corners without passing another car. He's going to come through West Bend as well, is Lucas Luhr. But, you know, it's we've seen, what, 3 or 4 cars out of the race. We're showing now that I think one of the Corvettes is, no, they are still on pit lane, as is the BMW. And Ed Brown's 02 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferrari, that was the car that was tipped into the spin at West Bend a little while ago to cause that big pile-up in GT. He is in the pit lane as well. I think actually that car, the 02 car, is behind the wall.
And just hearing from Extreme Speed Motorsports that there will be lengthy repairs to the 02 car. This from Guy Cosmo. Lengthy repairs to make and might not get back out, he says on his Twitter account. Thanks, Guy. We're at RadioLeMans.com and at Specutainment here, as out goes the redhead, the number 3 CompuWare Corvette. That's pretty impressive, because you look at that car now and you would never think from the state of the bodywork that car had been involved in any kind of incident. One careful owner, never raced or rallied.
That is quite remarkable. Great work there. And there is Olivier Beretta at the wheel of that number 3 car now, and I'm sure it won't take him long to get up to speed. It'll take him a lap or 2 to just make sure that everything is as straight as it should be in terms of the suspension, the way the wheels are tracking on that car. But you know, this team, they've done that before. It's not the first time they've modified the suspension or had to tweak the suspension during the race. And I think Olivier Beretta will be pretty confident that car is going to handle fairly well. But I think the chance of handling as well as it was before are not quite so good. But look at him there, just trying to weave around, just get a feel for the car, build some more heat into those Michelin tyres, and it won't be long before Beretta is fully back up to speed.
He's in 13th, 1-3, 13th position in GT, 29th overall, but he's dropped in terms of the leaders in GT. He's dropped 15 laps on the leaders, as in comes the overall leader. Now this is very, very interesting. This is after just 35 minutes as Lucas Luhr comes into the pits on lap number 42. Write that down, Jeremy. And this is surely a regular pit stop for Lucas Luhr.
Very early.
I think, well, unless they're going to do a stint and a bit for him before they change over. That is the big question.
Yeah, they should be able to do, I would have thought, 45 minutes at least before making a scheduled pit stop. So I don't know why they would be coming in right now. You really want to spend as little time as you possibly can on the pit lane here, but we'll have to wait and see whether that is a strategic call or whether there is some sort of a problem on that Muscle Milk Lola Aston Martin.
What it has done is handed the lead to Chris Dyson, and he might even get a full lap on the Muscle Milk car. No, that was a very quick pit stop indeed. And that must just have been a splash of fuel, and there is the leader behind him, and he's managed to get out in front and not lose a lap. Now that is actually we talked about tactics, didn't we? That's clever thinking by the Muscle Milk team. I can't believe that they've done tyres on that car. We didn't see it down in the pit lane, but he's caught up behind the RSR Jaguar, and it's absolutely crucial now for Lucas Luhr to stay ahead of Chris Dyson and stay on the lead lap. And Chris Dyson now from the nose box of the G-Oil Lola Mazda Coupe down to the final corner, this big diving right-hand corner, right-hand indicator on from the 34 car, which would have panicked the living daylights out of me as Chris Dyson goes through on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's often a signal to tell you to go on that side.
That side, yeah. I always think it's a bit dangerous. Are you going that way, or do you want me to pass that way?
When I first did my first 24-hour race many years ago, I was told that that was the etiquette to put your signal to tell them which side you want them to pass. But sometimes, of course, these are in some of those GT Challenge cars. They're not exactly professional drivers at the wheel of those cars. Many of them are just gentlemen who are out there having some fun, and he could be who flicked on that indicator there without meaning to.
Well, Lucas Luhr at the moment has really got the bits between his teeth as he heads to complete another lap, a 51.9 last time around on full tanks, and now goes across the line again, and a 51.8, a 49.2, excuse me, for Lucas Luhr, and he's pulling out and away from Chris Dyson. And this is clever tactics here, Jeremy, for me, because clearly when Dyson comes in, he'll have to have a longer stop to refill the tank, and he's got no chance then of holding on to the lead. The question will be, how far down the road can Lucas Luhr get in this next stint as we come down to 39 minutes completed, so still over 2 hours and 6 minutes to go. How far can Lucas get down the road before the 16 Dyson comes into the pit lane?
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that, as you say, there's still over 2 hours to go in this race, so I doubt they're going to have to make certainly at least 2 more pit stops to get to the finish of this race, and it's going to be interesting to see whether the Dyson car could do it on 1 fewer pit stop. I don't think that's the case, but he's really put his foot down, Lucas Luhr, 47.0 last time around as well. LMP Challenge is still Ricardo Gonzalez, who leads there in the 06 car for Core Autosport. He got past James Kovacic from Intersport, who led early on, and the gap between those two now has gone out to about 15 seconds between the LMP Challenge first and second place cars.
In GT, it's still Joyce Hand that leads in the number 7 BMW. In the 7th place BMW, the 56 car from Patrick Long, and he's pulling away lap after lap. He's taking time. Sometimes it's half a second, sometimes it's 3/4, but it's consistently pushing away from the 56. Remember, the 55 was caught in a 4-car GT tangle, which saw Ed Brown in the 02 Ferrari, which saw both 3 and the 4 Corvette and the 55 BMW. In GTC, the leader is James Sofronas. There he is, in the blue and white machine, the GMG car. Slight change of livery for GMG, but I like that. That looks good, and any car that leads or wins is a pretty car, Jeremy.
It certainly is, and James Fronas really has done a nice job. A lot of experience, primarily in SCCA World Challenge racing. Been driving Porsches for a long time. GMG, the Global Motorsports Group, they are a Porsche prep shop in Southern California. They prepare all sorts of different Porsches for all sorts of different series as well. And James Sofronas has made the break in the early stages of GT Challenge. He's got himself a pretty handy lead now over Tim Pappas, the defending series champions, Black Swan Racing Car 54. He's about 10 seconds back in second place, and third place in GT Challenge. Not far behind that with Duncan Ender in the first of 2 TRG portions.
So Chris Dyson then leading at the moment, but a pit stop in hand. Lucas Lohr still lapping in 48.9. That's another 2.5-3 seconds quicker than the leader at the moment, and it doesn't take very long here, Jeremy, for that to be significant on a 48-second lap. And at the moment, the battle for the lead doesn't seem to be door-to-door as it was before, but my goodness me, both of those drivers really working at it, as again we're watching the Risi Competizione car coming up into traffic with Tony Vielander trying to chase down Patrick Long. There's 7 seconds between those cars at the moment. Brian Sellers in a decent scrap with Scott Sharp for 4th and 5th in GT. The Porsche and Ferrari just half a second or 3/4 of a second apart. But unusually, we haven't got that many wheel-to-wheel battles around here. People are trying to settle in and get their fuel mileage sorted.
Yeah, that's right. It keeps themselves out of trouble. We've seen all of those 3 GT cars that were in the pit lane for lengthy repairs after that incident at West Bend have now rejoined the action. They're all a long way down, but the 55, the 3 and the 4 are all back in the fray. That's certainly great work by each of those teams to get, in particular, that number 4 car of Jan Magnussen. I mean, they had to completely change the front suspension on that number 4 Corvette. Remarkable work.
Live on ESPN3.com, it's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw. There is our LMPC leader. Ricardo Gonzalez leads from James Kovacic in the number 37, and that is a gap that is going out as well. Third place overall for Ricardo, and fun and games at the head of the field. Could still see him improve from that. By the way, in the meantime, the number 20 with Hamid Al Masoud has made his way up to 8th position overall. More from Lime Rock Park, where we return to round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron. It's the Northeast Grand Prix here in Connecticut. Just under 2 hours still remain in the Northeast Grand Prix in the American Le Mans Series here at Lime Rock Park at Lakeville, Connecticut, and Chris Dyson has retaken the lead. Lucas Lohr having taken a very, very early stop. The good news is for Corvette fans that at least one of the 2 damaged Corvettes are back out. In fact, they're both back out onto the pits now. And of course, Corvette race, so you get the benefits of their technology transfer.
Le Mans, you don't win Le Mans alone. There is no superstar in Le Mans. There is no superstar driver. It's just a teamwork.
I got out of the car, and the first person I saw was Doug, and he grabbed me by the helmet, and told me that I did a good job, and that I had one of my best stints of my life right there. To pass for the lead at Le Mans with a couple hours to go, I mean that's definitely one of the highlights of my life for sure.
A lot of manufacturers will talk about the value of racing and what it brings to the production car, but most of that is talk. At Corvette, you can see it. It's real. You can touch it. You can feel it. You get in the car, you know it's there. That's what our customer looks for. That's what our fans expect. At Corvette Racing, we deliver.
Both of the Corvettes back out after that early problem, caught up in a 4-car incident earlier on when the Ferrari of Ed Brown was tipped into a spin right in front of them by Jarrett Boone in the number 18. It also involved the 55 BMW and the 2 Corvettes 3 and 4. Now, the number 6 car was leading, but has made an early pit stop for Lucas Lohr. It's put him out of sync, which means Chris Dyson is leading. And we've got a full course caution. This is in turn number 1, and this is the Green Hornet car, and it looked like the battery tender 23 as well of Alex Job Racing. And the full course caution comes out. Bill Sweegler. And somewhere around there's an LMPC car in the wall we're hearing as well. Was that the same incident, or was it something else? Now, this is interesting, Jeremy, because what we have here is Chris Dyson able to make a pit stop for free. Does it help him? Let's have a look at the incident. That is the Planet of the Apes car again, the 89 of Tommy Dreesy. He's had 2 incidents at that area of the racetrack, and that is a dangerous area too, but he's got going again. The full course caution called for that incident between the 2 Porsches at turn number 1. This is going to be a quickie yellow, but it will give the leaders a chance to pit. Now here's what happened to the Green Hornet Porsche with Peter Lasafra on board, coming down into turn 1. Watch the green car with the Jaguar and the, oh my goodness me, 3 into 1 just don't go. Well, Jeremy, I would think that both the LMPC car and the Jaguar have got damage there. Clearly not as bad as Peter's car. That's done a front track control arm.
And that is the car that's running now with Black Swan Racing, the 34 and the 54 now teammates. As you can see, the damage to that right front suspension on the Green Hornet Porsche.
Now, we talked about the lead changing earlier on, and we thought it might happen in traffic. For those of you who missed it, this is what happened. Lucas Lowe tracking the 16 car of Chris Dyson. He'd thrown a dummy there a couple of times, Jeremy. Then Chris had a very near miss as Tommy Dreesy went off right in front of him.
Yeah, that was very, very close. What a wonderful move that was by Lucas Lowe up at West Bend. From the onboard there with Chris Dyson, as Tommy Dreesy just got on the brakes a little bit too hard. There is a good look at Chris Dyson under the caution. He leads under the caution, and I'm sure he will be making a pit stop this time around.
Don't forget that put the 6 car in the lead, but then he came into the pits, but he got out crucially without losing a lap, because this safety car now puts him back around and into the lead
Yes, Muscle
lap.
Milk
Jamie.
did come in earlier. It looks like they are going to take advantage of this full course caution, and they're going to come in again, though. The problem earlier, Lucas Lowe said he had some contact. Team looked at the live telemetry, noticed they did have a tire going down, so Lucas brought the car to pit lane. They took 4 new Michelin tires, some fuel, but now it looks like they're going to come in and do a driver change under this caution.
That's a smart bit of tactics to get that done. So unseen by us. That was a super quick stop, Jeremy, to get a splash of fuel and the tyres done. Remember, in the American Le Mans Series, you can't do both of those things at once.
No, they would have only needed a little bit more than maybe half a tank of fuel there, so it wasn't at least a full fuel stop. So they were able to get that fuel done relatively quickly, then get, as you say, get those tyres changed. And as a result of that, Lucas was able to run some very quick laps after that, but I fancy that was too early for a scheduled stop. So thanks to Jamie Howe for finding out exactly why we did see that number 6 car into the pit lane earlier on.
Right, we're going to get the pass around now. The pits will be open for the prototypes the next time around. So this is quite interesting.
Yeah, this pass around just is an attempt by the American Le Mans Series to make sure we've got 4 different classes in this race, to make sure that nobody is disadvantaged by the timing of this yellow flag period. So it'll enable people to get around and get behind. If they're on the same lap as their class leader, this will help them ensure they don't lose undue ground.
Well, at each corner of all of these cars is a real piece of technology. Kelly can tell us why this technology on the racetrack is relevant to what you drive on the streets.
One of the keys to Corvette's victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans was the endurance of their tires. They actually triple stinted their Michelins and in fact set the fastest GT lap time of the entire race in the final lap of the 3rd stint. Now, Lee Willard is not only the team tire engineer for Corvette Racing, but he also helps develop Michelin's street tires for Corvettes.
Yes, that's right. During the week, Monday through Friday, I'm at the desk at the computer doing street tire development for Corvette. On the weekends, I had to work with the racing team and learn everywhere we go from the racetrack and bring that information back to the office for the street tires. What we have here is we have the Corvette, the ZR1 front tire for the street, and down here we have Corvette racing tires for the racetrack. One of the huge important transfers of technology we have here is the rubber compounding technology. The rubber compounding technology of the racing slick that we put into this is very similar to what allows us to do the triple stint and the fastest lap of the race at 2011 Le Mans.
Another great example of that transfer of technology here in the American Le Mans Series.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Kelly. Kelly Stavers down there in the pitch. Just a quick update. There was a problem earlier on for the 44 Flying Lizard. Seth Nyman starting that car. There was an ignition coil problem. Not the first time they've had that on that car. They had the same problem at Le Mans. So we're waiting for pit stops to start in the booth. We've got, I'm delighted to say we've got a guest in the shape of Duncan Dayton, who knows this track and knows how to win at this track. Very much so, sir. Welcome to the booth. So just while we're waiting for this Green Hornet car to be moved out of the way, I don't think it's going to be the work of a moment with that problem. Duncan Dayton, you know what to do to win round here. This is a very difficult circuit, and tactics are always going to play a part.
Absolutely, and to try to stay on the lead lap is the key. So what Lucas was able to do with the Muscle Milk team and get a pit stop and some new tires and a splash of fuel and stay on the lead lap is huge.
You're not racing here with Highcroft this weekend. For those that don't know, tell us why not and what you're going to be doing instead, because it's very, very exciting.
Well, unfortunately, the Acura program, Honda Performance Development Program, has come to a close. The circumstances surrounding the earthquake and tsunami in Japan have really devastated the country there so much that.
And we watched Chris Dyson in that number 16 mod.
Let's go down to
We've got Guy
Kelly.
Smith here standing by to do the driver change as Chris gets out of the car. Guy will take over now. Guy has not raced in this Mazda since, really been in the Mazda since the Long Beach Grand Prix. While a lot of teams took the big break for Le Mans to do some testing, he actually was busy with a house move along with some GT racing. But we also see that second place prototype in the number 6, Jamie.
Yes, and this driver change taking longer than the fuel, which is not the norm here in the American Le Mans Series. But because Lucas Luhr had already made that stop earlier, they didn't need to put as much fuel in. Very clean stop for Muscle Milk Racing, and they're back out.
And they are back out crucially ahead of the leader. And this is a long stop for the 16 Dyson car. Didn't quite get fired. So they're going to get out and get their lap back. They'll be back on the end of the line, the longest line.
And he talked about a little bit of luck needed here.
Oh, the door's open. The door's not closed properly on the 6 car. The right-hand side door is not closed properly on the Aston Martin-powered Lola, and that is a problem for that car. Now, can the driver reach it and get it closed?
Yeah, hopefully he'll be able to reach in there and pull it down. But, we talked about luck playing a factor here. The fact they had that tyre going down earlier on has apparently just played into the favour of the Muscle Milk Lola Aston Martin team.
Next lap through, the GT cars come in. The GTC cars ahead of the GT leader, but the 56 car of Joey Hahn getting a pretty even run down into its pit. But look, all of that lead that he built up has disappeared as in came Patrick Long behind him. And in the Flying Lizards pit, let's go down to the pit lane for the GT stops. Jamie.
Patrick Long already out of the car, helping his co-driver Jörg Bergmeister get behind the wheel. Fuel is still going in, so no other work can be done to the car besides a driver change. But the crew standing by, they have 4 new Michelins out and ready to put on. There was some speculation whether or not teams would go for left side tires only. Flying Lizard said it's not an advantage to them. They don't lose time by taking all 4, so they're going to give Jörg a fresh set of Michelins to get back out underway. Kelly?
With BMW just finishing up their pit stop, it was flawless. And when I talked to these guys earlier at BMW, they said they've really been working on the driver change, that it is so easy to accomplish in this BMW. The 55 BMW guys actually got a driver change down to 12 seconds. They're off.
And that was interesting because Patrick Long handed over to Jörg Bergmeister, who's come out now directly behind the leader. So all that time that was banked up is now for absolutely nothing, because first and second in GT, 7th and 8th overall are now behind absolutely line astern as they head back out onto the track. It looks like the Green Hornet car is on the back of the low loader, so we won't be too long before we go back to green flag racing. Gives us the chance to finish the thought with, oh, that's interesting, they've took the shortcut as well through the Porsche Platz, appropriately enough. Duncan Dayton is with us. Tell us about the new project, DeltaWing. It's very exciting. It's by no means, however, conventional.
No, it's not. It's a clean sheet of paper designed to utilize half the weight, half the horsepower, half the aerodynamic drag, and consequently half the fuel burn. So, yet still achieving LMP1 performance.
It looks like something out of Buck Rogers in the 25th century. It is needle nose, almost looks like a land speed record car rather than a Le Mans Series prototype. Are you confident that Ben Bowlby, the man behind this, has got his sums right and this thing will be able to go around corners? I've got no doubt it'll be blisteringly quick on the straight, but can it get round the turns?
Well, absolutely. I'm totally convinced, as is Ben, and it's a case of form following function. We didn't start out with an idea of making a car look like this, but it ended up through multiple iterations in CFD, it ended up being the shape that was most economical and efficient in not only in a straight line but also around corners. So
the car, as well as yourself and Ben, who are big names in the sport, has got some other really well-known people involved in it. The whole Project 56 for the 56th garage at Le Mans next year, which is where it has already had its invite, and you've attracted some fantastic personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sort of who's who of sports car racing in America, and we're pleased to say that Don Panos and Scott Atherton are involved. If it weren't for them, Highcroft would not have been involved in this project, so we're really appreciative for them taking this to the ACO initially and then getting Highcroft involved. But Dan Burney from All American Racers is going to build the 2 prototypes, and it's going to be a sort of a who's who of American motorsports, and we're really looking forward to getting it going.
When do we see the car? When will it be actually a rolling, real thing that we can touch and feel and point at?
We should take the delivery of the car sometime at the end of October, beginning of November.
Okay, and if we want to know more about it, the website is?
www.highcroftracing.com.
Okay, Duncan, thanks for being with us. It's so busy around here that we haven't got a huge amount of time to talk to you, but what do you think about what you've seen so far? Great battle between Klaus Graf and the Dyson car to start with, and now Guy Smith in that car.
Yeah,
this is not over, is it?
No. There's a long way to go, and knowing this place, anything can happen, and you got to keep your nose clean, and could happen in the last lap, as we've seen several times in the past with the Highcroft car.
Good to have you back here. Nice to be back in your part of the country. Duncan
Thanks,
Dayton,
mates. Cheers.
Nice to see you. Duncan Dayton from Highcroft Racing and the DeltaWing Project, highcroftracing.com. As we're about to go green flag racing here at Lime Rock Park, we have an hour in the books, and it does mean, of course, that Klaus Graf now leads the motor race as he comes back around to green. So that early stop has played into the hands of the Muscle Milk team. Guy Smith will be a second and a half behind him, maybe more as he crosses the line, and this now is game on again. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, just it levelled everything out there with that pit stop, because the Aston Martin was out in front before it had its tyre going down, and now that it's able to regain its advantage again due to the fact because they'd taken on fuel about half an hour ago, and it now needed less fuel than the number 16 Dyson racing car, and able to get back past into the lead.
There's a change of position in GT, Jeremy, because the 62 of Jamie Mello has just gone past Wolf Hensler on the restart.
Well, that's the same order as it was before the full course caution, and both the Tony Vilander car, this number 62 car here, and the number 17 Falcon Porsche, and the 04 Robertson Racing Ford GT, they were all able to get the wave around and remain on the same lap as Dirk Müller and Jörg Bergmeister, the 56 BMW and the 45 Porsche. So those 5 cars still on the lead lap in GT.
And there are the 2 leaders just ahead of them as into the first corner the right-hander turns Tony Vilander, Jamie Mello, excuse me, and there are the leaders, the white BMW with the silver and red Flying Lizard car in second place, less than a second between them, in fact just about half a second, and here's the battle for the lead in LMPC. This is the John Bennett 05 and Gunnar Jeanette versus Elton Julian. John Bennett in the 05 car, improper conduct at the wave around, so the 05 car that leads will have to come in and do a stop-go, so this leaves Gunnar Jeanette and Elton Julian, teammates here a year ago, battling it out effectively for the lead in LMPC.
That's right, and they were teammates last year, where Elton Julian and Gunnar Jeanette, and they are going to have a battle royal towards the end of this, the final stages of this race. They both had a pole position this week. It was Elton Julian who claimed his first ever American Le Mans Series pole, and the last time out at Long Beach 3 months ago now, but that was the last race. It was Gunnar Jeanette who started on the pole. So teammates last year, and this year rivals.
And the thing is about this is clearly they must know very much each other's driving styles, having been teammates. So there's a bit of cat and mouse going on here, with Gunnar Jeanette just looking in the right-hand rear-view mirror to see where Elton Julian is. As the 05, the leader, is in the pit, serving his penalty. He's being held. He's about to lose the lead to these two as they come across the line. And Gunnar Jeanette then, with John Bennett still in the pit lane, taking his penalty for the improper pass around procedure. By the way, Guy Smith has closed in to Klaus Graf. He's just 0.2 of a second behind in the battle for overall. Problem is here that we can't watch everything at once. We need Jeremy and I and 2 other people all watching, because we've got 4 battles for 4 classes at the moment. This one in the lead of LMPC, and for 3rd place on the podium overall for the PC category, Gunnar Jeanette, and leads across the line and heads down towards the first corner.
Yeah, Gunnar Jeanette, of course, taken over from Ricardo Gonzalez. That was leading the class before this round of pit stops. They also lead in the championship standings after the first 2 races of the season. They had a 3rd place at Sebring, and Gunnar Jeanette and Ricardo Gonzalez won the round at Long Beach, and they're in 1st place again now. But there is Elton Julian in that number 63 car for General Racing right behind him.
Damage on the left rear of Gunnar Jeanette's car. The legality panel behind the rear left wheel is loose. Meantime, here's the GT leader, Dirk Muller, as he was before the pit stop, with Jörg Bergmeister now sitting in his wheel tracks in the 45 Flying Lizards. Now remember, this BMW cleared off at the start of the race in the hands of Joey Hand and built up something like 14 seconds lead. Now it's down to under a second. Joey Hand watches nervously in the pitch with Kelly Stavist.
You couldn't ask for much more out of that first stint from Joey Hand. You put a gap there on the rest of the GT field and let the chaos sort of play out behind you. But how was that stint for you as you weaved your way through all the crazy traffic here at Lime Rock?
Oh, it's pretty good. You know, it's fun. This is my kind of my East Coast home track. It's BMW's home track. We got a lot of Crown Plaza people here today, and BMW people, and Dunlop gave us a great tire there to get out in front early, and it stuck with me the whole time. It was just managing traffic and staying out of the chaos that is Lime Rock. You know, this place is cool. You know, there's always some action. It's a great fans track, great to watch, I'm sure, at home. But the car is very solid. Chris Yanchin and the boys here gave me a very balanced race car, and when it's comfy, things get crazy.
We talked about that target that you guys seem to have on your back with the other teams gunning for you after you swept the first 2 rounds. Is that a little extra motivation to get out here and kind of make a statement?
Well, yeah, I mean, I always want to make a statement. You know, in a race car driver's world, you're only as good as your last outing, you know, so my goal there was to get out in front, get some LMPC cars in between us, and make a gap and hope that we could hold that gap. You never know. This race could go green for a long time, so I was just hoping that 9 or 15 second gap would be what I took to the finish, or what Dirk takes to the finish. So now we got Dirk Mueller in there. He's my boy, and if anybody can bring it home, he will.
Thanks a lot, Joey. We've got Jamie now with Patrick Long.
Patrick Long did the opening stint behind the wheel of the Flying Lizard Motorsports Porsche. Pat, you made an amazing pass right there at the start of the race. Talk us through it.
Yeah, you know, I had Jan to my outside, and we've been running hard all season, and he pushes me. With Dirk just up ahead in the BMW, I saw a bit of an opening around the outside of turn 3, so I went for it. He ran me hard and clean, and I was able to not only escape from Jan, but get around him and then sort of keep the pressure on Joey. But it's tough racing out there. These challenge classes are doing a good job. It's a lot of these guys' first time running in endurance racing, so it's keeping the action tight. It's all about traffic management right now. It's not just about filling the field, but these guys are the gentlemen of the sport, and they keep our racing going. So I think everybody's got to be supportive and work together out there, and so far it's been good. But Lime Rock's always tough, and I'm feeling good. I might have to get back in at the end, but Jörg's out there right now keeping the pressure on, and we'll see where we end up.
It certainly is hot. I think a couple teams might be doing 2 driver changes today.
Even though the engine is behind in the Porsche, the heat in that car is quite intense, and goodness knows what it must be like with the V8 right in front of your feet when you're Dirk Müller in that BMW M3. There is the leader and second place. That's the battle for GT. And in third position, well, that's Jamie Mello in the black and red Risi Ferrari this weekend. They haven't even had time to get the new panels on that car painted after the shunt in the practice session on Friday here at Lime Rock Park. And kudos, by the way, to Scott Sharp's team, Extreme Speed Motorsport. Once again, any parts that weren't available to the Risi competition guys, if they had the spares, they were handed over without any question from the ESN pit. Oh, and Melander and Mello, excuse me, is 2 wheels, 2 Michelins onto the dirt there and does a bit of rally crossing. That is the leader, and that is the it's not, it's the exit of the S's. Now,
it's been off the road clearly, got back on again though.
Look for damage.
Guy Smith must have already gone through. Let's have a look, see what happens going around the outside of the number 32 car. And
Alex Welch.
It's the second place car. That was Alex Welch taken over from James Safronis. And let's have a look. We're on board here with Klaus Graf. It looked like to me like he didn't give him enough room, did he? No, I don't know. He's out towards the right-hand side of the track there on that left-hand turn.
He stalled it as well, but he's got it. No, he hasn't got it. That's lost him time, and Guy Smith's gone through, and all of a sudden a lead of a couple of seconds to Klaus Graf has turned into a 9-second deficit. And look at the eyes in that racing helmet of Klaus Graf. Gunnar Jeanette leads LMPC, Guy Smith by 9 seconds at the head of the field. And Jörg Müller is hanging on to the coattails of Jörg Bergmeister is hanging on the coattails of Dirk Müller in the GT category. We're live from Lime Rock Park on ESPN3. Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh on board the Muscle Milk Aston Martin Racing Lola Coupe. It all looks very calm in there now, Jeremy, as he comes back down to turn number 1 and goes around the 48 car. That's the Chopard Watches and Marquis Jet sponsored machine of Sascha Massen, someone that Klaus knows very well indeed.
And this time Klaus Graf elects to settle in behind that GT car. That's not a GT Challenge car, the Chopard Watches car of
Sascha in the
Sascha Massen driving it right now. So these two, of course, Lucas Luhr and Sascha Massen, long-time friends and teammates for many, many years for Porsche, particularly in the early stages of the American Le Mans Series. Won a lot of races and championships between them. So great respect there between those two. And certainly, I think that time, Klaus Graf. It's Klaus Graf at the wheel of this car now, not Lucas Luhr, having taken over from Lucas Luhr, but a lot of respect amongst these German drivers, and that time he just certainly decided to give that 48 car a little bit more room than he had the lap before.
Comes up now on the 23 of Butch Leitzinger, another big name in a challenge car, another big name in a Porsche, and now comes to the third place. This is the Ferrari rather, in third place for Mello, and that car looks like it is not going too well. I think there might be a problem for the 62 car, Jamie Mello, and indeed he's going slowly in the background of that shop as we hear of a penalty for the 32 car. Stop and hold for Alex Welch for avoidable contact. So the blame has been placed by Bo Barfield on the GT driver. At that point now, let's see Jamie Mello come round this time. How was his lap as he comes through? 56.1, so he is 3 seconds slower than he really needs. In fact, he's more than that. He's 5 seconds slower, but he hasn't come into pit lane. So was that just traffic, or is that a portent of further problems for the Risi Competizione Ferrari? We'll keep an eye on that. What we do have, Jeremy, is from a spectator point of view and from the neutrals point of view, Klaus Graf now in attack mode, because he's got to claw back these 9 seconds that Guy Smith has on him. They thought they'd done the tactical work and made it work for them, but now it's all turned around as it is wont to do here at Lime Rock Park.
And it can turn around just so quickly, can't it? There was a perfect example of it as he's working his way there past the GT leader, Dirk Müller, now at the wheel of car number 56, having passed just before that Jörg Bergmeister coming down the downhill. Those are the first two cars still in GT. Wolf Hensler now is up into third place, having got past Jeremy Mello in the Ferrari, and that Falkenthals Porsche is not too far behind Jörg Bergmeister.
No, that's very impressive. And Mello has lost a place to Lazaro. There is a problem. There is a problem. A 1:01 for the 62. And the Ferrari has got a problem. As meantime, we see a pass for position there. This is Stephen Kane on Kyle Marcelli for 6th overall. As Stephen Kane has now taken over the new team on the grid this weekend, the Oryx Dyson Racing Lola Mazda. And I'll have to say, I thought Hamad Al Masood from the pit lane, in amongst all that carnage that was going on, did a pretty fine job, Jeremy, in picking his way through. He had two massive incidents ahead of him and managed to avoid the pair of them, and he's given the car back to Stephen Kane, and it looks just as immaculate as it did when it pulled out onto the dummy crate.
And was turning some pretty respectable lap times as well, was who made it Al Masood. He's 30 years of age. He's from Abu Dhabi. He's spent quite a bit of time in England as well, however, but this is his first one. There's that GMG car again taking the escape road down at the uphill chicane, but here is Stephen Kane. He's another young man with a heck of a lot of experience now, and a heck of a driver as well. He was a BRDC McLaren Autosport Award winner in the UK back in 2001, so that is an award system that has launched on the careers of a lot of great drivers. Jenson Button,
David Coulthard, Dario Franchitti, yeah.
All sorts of great drivers have come through that program. And Stephen Kane, he didn't get the opportunity to move up into the top echelons of open wheel racing, but he's finally getting an opportunity in the big prototype cars.
Watching the 0-1 of Johannes van Overbeek in 7th position in class, and he is at the moment battling with Sasha Massen. And we're still waiting to see the 62 car that we've mentioned a couple of times with problems. And he's again done another minute lap for Jamie Mello. I don't understand why he's staying out there, Jeremy. Jamie Mello has got a problem. He's been touring around for the last couple of 3 laps. And now, indeed, he does come into the pit lane. I'm looking at that car. It looks straight enough. He's got his 4-way flashes on. And
he's lost a lot.
Let it sit while we fuel it. Then turn the master back on and see if it runs any better.
Misfire in that case. That is classic misfire. Control-Alt-Delete. Basically, the 3-fingered salute to a race car is turn the master off and back on again and see what it does. Kelly is down there for us at the Risi Competizione pit.
We're just getting the early word out of Risi that they had a misfire, and then the gearbox temperature light went on, and then he couldn't get it to go at all, so they were going through a series of steps while Jamie was in the car to try to get it restarted so they can bring it here in the pits. Now you see they've made that stop, fired back up, and he's out of here.
He's lost a lot of time, though, with 2 or 3 slow laps whilst they were trying to clear that problem, obviously, out on the track. And around, that's a shame, has gone Anthony Lazaro out of 4th place in GT. And he has gone off at the first corner at Big Bend.
That's going to cost him some ground. And yeah, we've seen mistakes and not even mistakes from a lot of these guys, well, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to find their way around either faster cars or slower cars. I mean, there is just no respite for these drivers. Look at that traffic jam going into the uphill chicane as well. I think Lazaro will still maintain 4th place in GT with the problems that befell the Risi Competizione Ferrari. So it's still been a great day for Robertson Racing, and here now comes Anthony Lazaro.
I think you'll find if you just look slightly ahead of him, there is Mello, but Mello is slow.
Yeah, that car's still not up to speed.
And I think he'll be coming back into the pits again. It's
what a shame. They've had no luck this season.
Zero.
They've changed from the Ferrari 430 from last year to this new F458, and it's been fast, but it's been they've had problems with that car. And as we saw yesterday, when Vilander had an incident with one of the BMWs going through the S's, there was relatively light contact, and it broke the suspension and broke a lot of things on that Ferrari. So that Ferrari clearly at this stage doesn't seem to be as strong as the older F430.
Problems a moment or two ago for Anthony Lazzaro in the 04 Robertson Ford. What happens? Well, heading down towards its team car. Please tell me he didn't run into his team car. He brakes, he's going to cut across. We're on board with the Ferrari, the extreme speed Ferrari, and
was that necessary?
He didn't see him. I don't think he saw him.
Well, he was quite in his rights to take the corner there. I mean, what's the Ferrari doing? It's not even close enough. He just gets up on the curve on the inside, completely missing his braking point, and slams into the right rear corner of Anthony Lazzaro. Crazy, but we saw a penalty given out a few minutes ago for that clash with the overall leader. I'll be surprised if we don't see the same again. Here is, however, the other Robertson car.
At exactly the same point on the track, and it's not been a good couple of minutes for the 40 car and the 04, the Robertson Racing team, in those two beautifully turned out Ford GTs. The Pelotti sponsored car, fresh from its podium finish at Le Mans, and this is the 05 car just back out after its pit stop, and that looked to me as though it was either a lock up on the downshift or bad brake bias problems.
Well, the contact with that...
was the contact?
Yeah, with the LMP Challenge car.
Okay.
The Challenge car sort of moved to the left when you should be turning right through there. There's some very strange driving going on at the moment.
And also, that's the battle for the lead in GT.
Yes, it is.
Dirk Muller has got Jörg Bergmeister for company. I was just about to say, there hasn't been an awful lot of full dry running here, so the guys are still really feeling their ways in, and certainly the track is still rubbering up from all of the bad weather that we've had in the couple of days before this event. 9.7 seconds.
And look to the right of the screen here, you just saw a flash of the Falcon Tires Porsche as well. That is third place in the class.
Wow.
Wolf Hensler is absolutely flying. You might see just a glimpse of that, the Aquamarine car. There it is, they're coming through. Here he is now into the left-hander. Wolf Hensler taken over from Brian Sellers. Sellers in a great early stint in this car, and now Wolf Hensler, we saw him lose a place at the restart to Tony Wielander, but since then, Wolf Hensler has been flying.
And he's drifting the car through the S's there. Over 1,000 miles of tyre testing the Falcon team has done in the break between the last race and now, and it's paying off in spades. They were hoping for wet weather conditions here because they knew they've got a great new wet weather tyre. However, even in the drive, they're doing the business. Guy Smith leads by 12 seconds over Klaus Graf, the 16 from the 6th Lola, and there'll be more action from here at Lime Rock Park next. It's a big crowd here at Lime Rock Park who are enjoying the race out front and the battle for the Michelin Green X Challenge. It's clean, it's about clean, fast and efficient. Basically the amount of gas and fuel used, the average race speed, and basically the efficiency is you divide the energy used by the car's mass. And what you're looking for is to get the most speed from the least amount of fuel, and then that comes up with a score. Tally all that together, you get a score, and just like in golf, the lowest score wins. That's how it's all calculated, and there's a great tradition of the efficiency in ACO rules racing. Think about the index of thermal efficiency going back to the 50s and the 60s. Little small engined, often French cars running around, taking on the bigger engine cars and working out in a similar way to the Green X Challenge. And they had their own particular race for themselves. To learn more about green racing, log into AmericanLeMans.com/green. Well, let's go back and just wrap up a couple of stories. It's been an action-packed 15 or 20 minutes, Jeremy Shaw, as we get the 11 Chris Thompson Porsche GTC car going around. But it has been an action-packed 15 or 20 minutes, hardly time to take breath. Remember, Klaus Graf was leading the motor race when we went back after green, and then this happened.
He tried to go around the outside of Alex Walsh through the left-hander, and I still don't think he could have left, I think, a bit more room on his left-hand side there before, as he was tracking out to the right-hander. Look, and it was a 32 was penalised. I thought it was a little bit harsh on the gentleman driver, Alex Welsh, quite honestly. But you know, the onus is on the overtaking driver. He made the move around the outside there, and I fancy he could have given that GT Challenge car a little bit more room on the left. but the officials decided that it was Alex Welch who was at fault. They brought him in for a stop and hold penalty, and Alex Codd dropped that 32 car back from second place in GT Challenge back to 6th.
And in the GT battle, it's been a bad few minutes for Robertson Racing. They've had a great month, taking the podium position in the GT AM category at Le Mans on their wedding anniversary for David and Andrea Robertson. Andrea started the car. Don't forget, 2 cars here with Anthony Lazzaro and David Murray being in the second car, the 04. That car all the way up to 4th position in the GT category, but it hasn't been all plain sailing recently. You can see on the right front of that car a little bit of damage on the Pilotti-sponsored silver and red machine. And that's because they've had their problems as through goes its team cars. Nice team shot there, get the cameras out, as Andrea just cuts across the team car. In fact, it's David in that car at the moment. Needs to give way. David looks in his mirror, and now he's seeing the 04 car of Anthony Lazzaro, who powers around the outside in the second of the Robertson Fords, and David stays to the left. Now, let's have a look to see what happens to the Robertson Racing Ford just a little earlier on.
Coming down into Big Bend, and you can see there's some contact there. The 05 LMP Challenge car looks to me like he moved to the left a little bit in order to take the optimal line through that right-hander, but poor old David Robertson there really had nowhere to go. And here's another incident also with the other Robertson Racing car, and this time it is the LMP Challenge car that comes off the worst.
Yeah, it was David Murray who managed to keep that car. That was before the pit stops, and it was David who was in the car at that time, managed to keep that car on the track. Now he's back up. Andy Lazzaro now back up to 4th place in the GT category in that car. In GDC, what a battle this has been, Jeremy, with Duncan Ender leading from Damien Faulkner in the 54 Black Swan Racing car.
We see the 2 TRGs cars there, 66 and 68. There's a lap, I think, though, between them. Duncan Ender in car number 66. He stole a march out of that first round of pit stop. Duncan Ender has been in that car since the start of the race.
And this is a big improvement for the 66 TRG car. When I spoke with Spencer Pumpelly after qualifying, he was incredibly disappointed with his 5th place showing. He said the car was so tight all the time, everywhere. This morning after warm-up, it was a little bit better, but not much. He said, look, we're just going to throw everything we have at it and hope that we're doing it in the right direction. Apparently they did, because they're now leading that GTC class.
So that is the leader in the GTC category.
Yeah, they're 1st and 3rd in the class, those 2 TRG cars.
Where's Faulkner?
Yeah, he's about a half a lap behind.
Okay.
He should be coming through here fairly soon in the number 54 car. That's the white and green Black Swan Racing Porsche that is running 2nd in that
there he is,
class.
Just going through there. Now, the GT battle is really hotting up because Dirk Muller, Jörg Bergmeister and Wolf Hensler in respectively the 56 BMW, the 45 Porsche and the 17 Falcon Tires Porsche are now just 2 seconds apart. 1st, 2nd and 3rd, 2 seconds apart in the GT battle. And this is more than, there it is. There's the battle going across the start-finish line, and looks like Wolf's maybe just lost out a little bit in traffic there. But this is the kind of street fight we're used to in the street car class.
It is, and there's a couple of LMP Challenge cars in the middle of that battle as well. They're there right behind Jörg Bergmeister as he comes through the left-hander. These prototype cars will be a little bit quicker, but they will try and make the move around here, and that is the battle. Is it for the lead
in LMPC? Yeah, that's good.
That's the second place car of Gunnar Jeanette. And John Field, is 3rd place in LMP Challenge, and he's not too far behind either in number 37 car. He's pulling down that deficit. It's Elton Jr. who still leads now. He's finally managed to eke out a little bit of an advantage, driving car number 63 over the 06 car down to the inside. But there is that's Kyle Marcelli, who dives down to the inside there. That is not a battle for position, because Kyle Marcelli, he's had some problems earlier on in this race and is a lap down on these two.
Yeah, and that is a pass for second place there, as through goes John Field on Gunnar Jeanette.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, 37. That's second of those two cars. He's come back from nowhere, and at the moment Gunnar Jeanette just struggling a little bit. He's down in the 51s, 52s, when all around him are in the 49s and the 50s. So just a slightly difficult phase for Gunnar Jeanette. There he is in the blue and silver car, but look at the battle for the lead in GT. Everywhere we look, there's people battling for position, and here comes Guy Smith, the leader of the race as well. He's getting involved in the GT battle, and that's very dangerous indeed. Great driving again by the GT drivers. Jörg Bergmeister, would have been so easy for him to pull out and try and make the pass there with the leader right alongside him. It's so difficult to see those prototype cars. They're just so low.
Yeah, they are. You know, it's heads up driving there by all of those guys there. They just took their line and made sure they looked after each other. And as you say, it's very easy to turn in on somebody without wanting to and not seeing they're there, because you're so focused on what you're doing. You've got to look in front of you, you've got to look behind you, you've got to look at, make sure the car is working properly as well. And there is that battle for first, second, and they're going up the hill as well in third place, that Falcon Tires Porsche. Porsche, they've been struggling. You were saying earlier on this season in GT relative to some of the competition, but the Porsches have been running very, very well here, as they always do at Lime Rock.
Lime Rock Park, round 3 of the American Le Mans Series, live on ESPN3.com with Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh. Hello there, if you are just joining us. You are just joining us, you've missed a cracking hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 14 still to go in this time-certain 2-hour 45-minute contest. And we're watching the battle in GT at the moment, and this is the battle for 8th and 9th overall, but for the lead in GT. And at the moment the interest is in the aquamarine and blue car of Wolf Hensler. The number 17 Porsche is closing in on the two leaders and closing in at a real pace. Jamie Howe is down in the Falcon pit and can add a little bit of insight to what's going on down there.
Yes, and speaking with the team all week long, they really feel like it's a David versus Goliath situation for them. This team, they're running one car. When you look at a lot of the GT2 teams, running two cars, so they only have one car to gather data from, both for the car and the tire. But we've also talked about what they've done in the off-season. In the off-break, they haven't been resting. They've been doing a lot of testing, getting all of their ducks in a row for the rest of the season, because Wolf Hensler believes coming here at Lime Rock specifically, you have to reestablish yourself as a powerhouse. There's 7 races in the next 13 weeks, and right now is when you need to tell the competition, hey, we're here to play, and right now, that's what they're doing.
They are certainly playing with the big dogs as well at the head of the field. Over 1,000 miles of testing for the Team Falcon guys, so they have not been resting at all. My goodness me. Wolf Hensler is really leaning on that Porsche.
He is indeed, and the Black Swan Porsche, that green and white car to the right, just off the right-hand side of the screen there, it's running second place in GT Challenge with Damien Faulkner at the wheel, and he was right in amongst that battle there, and he held up the other GT class Porsches just a little bit, and that's given Dirk Müller just a little bit of a breathing space, certainly the most breathing space he's had for quite a while.
Yeah, but he's lapping 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds faster than Duncan Ender in the 66 GTC leading Porsche in that category. So the gap's now under 20 seconds.
And Duncan Ender still has to hand over to his co-driver as well, I think, as this race progresses, because Duncan Ender started this race. He's been in at the wheel of that car now for an hour and a half, and Spencer Pumpelly will have to take over that car at the next pit stop.
Now here's
that. Didn't take long for Bergmeister to catch up again, did it?
That Flying Lizard number 45 looks absolutely superb. A very settled car. He's going to have a look down the inside, down the downhill. No, surely not. No, he drops back in behind. I think Müller is struggling for grip. I think that, don't forget, it's Dunlop versus Michelin versus Falcon. 3 different tyre manufacturers at the head of the GT category, and there is no other series in international road racing that can say that, because no one else has the open tyre views, has the tyre rules that we have here in the American Le Mans Series.
Right, Dunlop on the BMW, Michelin on the number 45 Porsche, and Falcon tyres on the number 17 Porsche right behind. And they were just putting a lap there on Anthony Lazzaro in that 4th place in GT.
Wow.
For GT for Robertson Racing.
So that is the pace at the head of the field. The leading 3 cars, the only cars at the moment still on the lead lap in the GT battle. The BMW M3, the sister car, remember, involved in the shunt early on, that also claimed the 3 and the 4 Corvettes in the 02. We haven't seen Ed Brown back out again, I don't think, have we? Oh, yes, we have. He has potted out and done some more laps. Meantime, PJ Jones is back into the pits.
Bruno Junqueira in the number 99 car. And Cristiano Nevada started that car. I saw Cristiano just before the start race. Here is, though, the number 17 third place car in GT in for a pit stop.
Now, that is very interesting with an hour and 11 minutes left. Not sure he can get to the end without a little splash there, Jeremy.
Well, that's going to be very, very interesting because I spoke to John Ward, the race engineer for this car just before the start of the race, and he reckoned they could go about an hour and 8 or 9 minutes.
Oh, well, he's there then.
Well, yes, I think they might be making that stop as early as they possibly can to get in this final pit stop and make it to the end from here. It's going to be tight, but they're going to be lapped. They know they're going to be lapped another once or twice before the end of this race. So in fact, they should be able now just about to bring this car home to the finish.
Now, this is an absolutely amazing part of the race. Can he get out without losing a lap? He's not going to quite. Oh, I don't know. Get to the inside, Wolf, and defend like mad, because he really needs to stay on the lead lap here. This is the leader and the third place car. Surely he can't do it. He's got much colder tyres on. He's a much heavier car with more fuel in it, but this is a crucial part of the race, and he's doing a great job. He's got to try and stay ahead here. This is advantage Falcon. If they can go to the end from here, then it doesn't matter what happens. He's squeezed the leader there through the S's. He's going to have to give way now, but he has absolutely laid down his intentions there. They've gone for the pit stop at the earliest point that they think they can get to the end of the race, and now the people on the pit wall at BMW and Flying Lizards, and my goodness, we've got some combined talent there, haven't we, with Bobby Rahal running the BMW Motorsport team and with Thomas Blom calling the tactics for Flying Lizards. Those guys now have got to be thinking, oh hello, we might have been out fumbled a bit here.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating strategy being played out here. We knew it was going to come down to strategy, and on the pit wall there for the Falcon Tires team, Derek Walker is now the team principal of that organisation.
I've heard his name. He's been around a bit, hasn't he?
Just a little bit, yeah, just a little bit. He's been around the sport a long, long time, in Formula One initially, and then in Champ Cars and Indy Cars. And John Ward there, the race engineer for the number 17 car, he's been around the block a time or two as well, particularly with All American Racers. Dan Gurney's team way back to the 90s. He's the guy who designed that magnificent Eagle Toyota that I think still holds the outright track record here at Lime Rock Park. It won a couple of championships back in the early 90s, dominated the forerunner of the American Le Mans Series. And John Ward also, he designed Indy cars for Dan Gurney. He's been around the block and he knows all about strategy.
Let me give you a little update on what's going on. We can't take our eyes off this battle at the head of GT, but Damien Faulkner has taken another 4 seconds out of the lead of Duncan Ender in GTC. 66 from 54 by 15 seconds. At the head of the field, Guy Smith is leading by about the same margin, about 15 seconds to Klaus Graf. That battle is ebbing and flowing in the traffic. In LMP2, Elton Julian is in third position overall and leads the class, and he has got something like 34 seconds lead to John Field. Sorry, a little bit less than that, my apologies. The mathematics not quite working on that, but John Field in second by 6.4 seconds to Gunnar Jeanette, who stayed out there and seems to be battling through whatever problem it was, Jeremy, because his lap times now have started to even out with the cars around him. And although John Field has pulled away by about 7 seconds, he's holding his own now in third position.
Yeah, and Elton Julian there still out in front there in the number 63 car for General Racing in LMP Challenge as we watch Jörg Bergmeister there, that second place car in GT. We're on board now with Dirk Müller going through the left-hander. That is Anthony Lazzaro, I think, just ahead of him, so still running very well indeed in that class. And in fact, Lazzaro now is into third place in the class because of the Falcon Tires car losing a lap.
46.7, the fastest lap of the race for Guy Smith. That was a little while ago, but nobody's got third. But just look at this battle for the GT. Underneath the Lime Rock Bridge, down the hill, look in the mirrors. Oh, and look at Wolf Hensler. Wolf Hensler is trying to unlap himself from the Flying Lizard. He's got the pace. No doubt about that. As he's heading, he must be almost alongside the red and silver machine as they grow across the line this time. Remember, he's a lap back, but he has made what we think will be his last pit stop. And now see, these guys really do have a problem now because they cannot allow that 17 car to go back past them and start pulling away, because they've got no chance of holding on to their track position.
But this, the Ford GT, they're making a move to the inside of the GT Challenge car. That is the JDX racing car, the fabulous gold-coloured car. It's Chris Thompson at the wheel. And Lazzaro, though, he's still actually on the lead lap. I thought he'd been lapped by these guys, but he's still, as you can see, they're going down the downhill. Angelo Lazzaro there in that Ford GT is still on the lead lap, just ahead of these 3 cars here. And in third place, the Falcon car, it is a lap down, but trying to make that move, as you say.
He's got him. He's going to get both of them. He's going to get both of them, except the fact that the leader has to pull out to go by that bright, cold machine. And that's got a story behind it, that sponsorship, and it's a great story.
Yeah, there's Chris Thompson is driving the car this weekend. He's originally from South Africa. They got a gold mining company from South Africa is sponsoring that car this weekend. Let's go back and see what happened when the Falcon Tires car came back out of the pits after it stopped about 10 minutes ago.
And this was a real turning point of the race, because Wolf Hensler comes out. Look to the right-hand side of the screen. The white BMW is the leader, and he's about to put him a lap down. First of all, it was a phenomenal 4-tyre and fuel pit stop by Derek Walker's Falcon Tyre team. And that was a key moment there, Jeremy, because he didn't lose a whole heap of time, and he managed to get his tyres up to temperature and pressure within about a lap or so. Yes, he ultimately here gave up the lead lap, but it looks to me as though he's challenging very hard to get that back. And tactically, I think your man Walker there has done an absolute black. Now, where has the Lizards car gone? Wasn't in the back of that shot straight away. We know that he's got the lap back on him. Let's have a look in the background. There he is, and look at the gap he's making. So the 17 car, tactically very savvy. Jamie Howe is down in the Falcon Tyres pit.
I just talked to the Falcon Tire engineer, John Ward, and I asked him, are you guys good on fuel now to the end? They came in with an hour and 10 left in the race. They know they can go an hour and 8, and he said, you know what, it's going to be really, really close. Right now we have a little bit of a fuel sensor problem. They don't know if it's in the sensor or if it's actually in the line. So they're working with the guys from Porsche to try and get it all sorted out. But right now, Wolf Hensler just ticking off lap after lap.
And ticking off lap after lap very, very quickly indeed. Look at, he's got the pressure now on the BMW, and this is, I think, probably the most pressure we've seen on one of the BMWs all the way through this race.
Well, all the way through the season, Jeremy. They've been absolutely imperious at the head of the field. So that's first, second and third, but they are first, third and second.
Well, first, second, third and fourth, actually, altogether.
Yes, actually, fourth, first, third, second. Please write this down, and I'll be asking questions later. At the head of the field, the leaders really shrunk as Klaus Graf is taking big chunks of time out of the leader. It's down to 6.4 seconds. Remember, we were talking about Damien Faulkner catching the leader. Well, Duncan Ender is now pitted, and Damien Faulkner leads on their lap number 100, the GTC category. Elton Julian is now just 7 seconds ahead of John Field, and everybody else is in third place by the look of that. That is just remarkable, with 3-4 different classes of car in the same shot there. That is what American Le Mans Series racing is all about. And in there is Stephen,
at Live Rock Park.
Well, yes, and in there is Stephen Kane having. Don't forget that car started from pit lane, and that is the very interesting situation that he's had to come through the field, and he's now in third position with Al Masood and Kane driving immaculately in that newly entered car. Now, timing and scoring has just sort of caught up with itself, because I think that we've had a pit stop that we didn't see, because I think the 04 car might have been in the pits with Lazzaro, but we are now seeing Anthony Lazzaro in third position ahead of Wolf Hensler.
That's right.
Yeah,
and he's just on the lead lap. He's fighting to stay on the lead lap. That's what I was talking a little while ago. I thought we'd seen the leaders get past Anthony Lazzaro.
I was sure we had.
But obviously not, because Lazzaro is right in there and running in that third place.
So it's third, first, second, fourth now, as Wolf Hensler's dropped back behind Jörg Bergmeister.
Indeed, he has.
But I tell you what, he could just as easily be past the pair of them here.
And flash of the lights there from from Dirk Mueller in that BMW, but
it's
Andy Lazzaro, he's doing his own job, he's driving his own race.
And he's right to do this. Again, he's trying to stay on the lead lap. A yellow flag now, and he comes back around. There's a key point here as well. This isn't all bad news either, of course, Jeremy, for Wolf Hensler, because he's staying in touch with the leaders. The leaders aren't getting away, and he's got the guy in front of him who he wants to pass, but he's got to make a pit stop in the 04 car. Now there's the LMPC leader coming through. The 44 Flying Lizard, after its ignition pack problems earlier on, is fighting its way back, and that is in fact in 8th position in GT, with Marbo Holzer now in the car this weekend.
And going pretty quickly, the young German driver, a Porsche Junior factory driver, has been drafted in because Darren Law has got other commitments this weekend. Generally drives with Seth Nyman, but Marco Holzer is really turning up the wick here. He's turned some very quick laps indeed, and then amongst that GT battle is the leading LMP Challenge car with Elton Julian still at the wheel of car number 63 for Genoa Racing. He's got about a 10-second lead over John Field in the number 37 Intersport car.
That's been as high as 15 and as low as 7 in the last 15 or 20 minutes, and that is what traffic will do to you around here. Let's go back and see where John Field is. Watch out for the white and bright day glow orange car. There it is, coming round the first corner, Big Bend. And again, you see, it goes out, it comes back, it goes out, it comes back. Now he's lost there at least a second, just in that left-hand corner. Now he has moved up into second place. Gunnar Jeanette had a few bad laps and then had to give it up as Field comes down the inside into turn 1. That is a typical John Field, very brave pass. It's his teammate, in fact, Kyle Marcelli, who goes for, in the 89 car, it was a lap down, and John just took the opportunity. The hole was made, and he followed him through there.
So thank you very much. That's what teamwork's all about, I guess, isn't it? And those two cars, it's great to see Intersport Racing running a pair of cars in this LMP Challenge class, and that is exactly gives you a perfect example of why they're doing it. Good to see John Field back in action too, because he's a tremendous enthusiast. He might be not quite as young as some of these guys in the field, but he's still as enthusiastic as ever. He's 55 years of age now, is John Field. He'll be going to his home racetrack at Mid-Ohio in a few weeks' time, and there is John Field at the wheel of that car number 37, that distinctive helmet of his with the American flag on there as well, and he's trying to close the gap again onto the leader in LMP Challenge, Elton Julian, down to 5 seconds that time around. Fabulous job John Field is doing.
Just hearing from the pits that the 54th Black Swan car had a penalty, a stop and hold penalty for contact with Tommy Dreesy in the chicane when we saw Dreesy off to the right hand side. Damien Faulkner went in straight after that when the car came back around. He's immediately been setting fastest laps in class, and he's clawed back all of the time that they've lost, and now leads that category by a reasonable margin, actually. I think he's got the better part of a lap. These GTC cars that Faulkner have been driving have got their own series, of course, within the American Le Mans series, the GTC Category Cup, and they've been racing here this weekend as well. Tim McKenzie started on pole position but got absolutely mugged by not one but 2 cars as they went down into the first corner. The 92 of Tim spun it around. He went right to the back of the field and started fighting his way back through. Amazingly, that was a pass for 3rd position in the last 10 minutes of the race. He gets back up to 3rd and then spins it away. The race under yellow and finishes under caution, with Enrique Cisneros taking the checkers under yellow, and Madison Snow in 5th position, took the gold category, and she was by far out and away on that particular category. On board with Sasha Masson in the 48 GT Porsche in 5th position in GT. He's trying to chase down Anthony Lazzaro in the 04 Ford, but he is some distance up the road, some 40 seconds or so. Porsche, of course, hasn't had a great season, but it continues to build great race cars and transfer that technology to its street cars, as Pat Long explains.
With Porsche's over 30,000 victories on the racetrack, not only do we put those trophies on our manors, but we take the technology and put it right back into our road cars, like this Porsche Panamera behind me. Let's put this thing to the test.
Who wants to drive?
That's me. You don't have a license yet.
Oh, Lord.
You know, it's a big car, but it drives like a little car. That's probably the biggest plus for me why I bought one of these, is the turning radius and the handling, but you get the space, the comfort. Can I give you a little bit more room?
No, it's perfect. 6'4" and still plenty of space here. It's cool.
But I really like the dash there. You got so much information about the car, and also the leather. It's a great
Thanks,
car.
Patrick.
Thanks.
Anybody sick?
Man, that was impressive.
See you guys later. I'm gonna go do a few more laps.
See you, Pep.
That was awesome.
That's a cool car.
And it won't just be GT car technology that's transferred to their road cars, because in 2014 Porsche are back in Le Mans Series competition with a prototype P1 car announced just a week ago at Imola. Still waiting to hear the full details, but a new set of regulations in 2014 in the P1 class against the likes of Peugeot and of course their stablemate Audi. And we expect them to be right on the pace right away. But for the moment, if we're talking Porsche, we're talking GT battles. And Wolf Hensler's doing a great job, Jeremy.
And 3 of the 4 drivers in that piece are right here, nose to tail on the racetrack. Jörg Bergmeister in that yellow shade band car. Wolf Hensler right behind him. And there in the mirrors of the Falcon Tires car is the second of the Flying Lizard Porsche, Marco Holzer at the wheel.
How much steering was Jörg putting into that? Great shots on the HD camera work from our team around the circuit here at ESPN3.com, and you could really see how hard he was working. And we've got Guy Smith with 52 minutes to go on pit road. Ricci Ferrari in and out, as well as Guy Smith heads towards his pit right at the far end of the pit road. And that Ferrari has been in the pits a very, very long time. And Guy's overshot, and this is going to cause some problems. Kelly Stavist hustles to the front of that car with a new set of Michelins, new set of Dunlops, excuse me, about to go on. Kelly.
Yeah, they overshot their pit box just a bit. Guy Smith did, so they had to push it back, which caused a little delay. You see him fueling up now, but you'll see those 4 Dunlop tires ready to go, and that's one of the big improvements that they've made over that break. Some of the team did some testing, and as Chris Dyson and Guy Smith pointed out, he said they've really been trying to find a good balance with these Dunlop tires in the car, and they're really happy with the progress that they've made.
Go, Jamie.
6 car on pit road as well. They just finished the fuel. Klaus Groff getting a new drink bottle. 4 new Michelin tires going on this car. And talking with the team earlier, they thought that they were only going to be taking 1. Right now they took 4, a little bit of a delay firing it back up, and he did not get out of pit lane before the 16 car.
It'd been around about between 6 and 10 seconds depending on the traffic, but I'm not sure that either of those cars can go to the end of the race. From there, it's going to be tight again, Jeremy, isn't it? It's going to be that roll of the dice. How hard will they have to push? We've seen cars running out of petrol on the last, running out of fuel on the last lap or so here before.
Yeah, that was very, very good stop, I think, by Dyson Racing there. They've got Guy Smith back out in the lead of this race with a pretty good margin over Klaus Graf, and now it's the battle to the end. 51 minutes it's shown remaining now. That's right about on the limit of how far these guys can go on a tank of fuel. They might both, I think, be hoping for maybe a full course caution. We only had the 1, which is pretty amazing on this tight little bull ring here, as Guy Smith there tries to get inside that class-leading LMP Challenge car, Elton Julian, going into Big Bend.
Klaus Graf 5 seconds quicker on his outlap than Guy Smith was, but the gap is still 14 seconds at the line.
He wasn't 5 seconds quicker on the outlap. That's the time from when they cross the timing line, which is actually in the pit lane.
So good point. So that includes part of his pit stop. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But still, it was, I think, a good outlap by both guys. It'll be interesting now when they come across the line this time to see what was their first flying lap.
And here comes Guy Smith, the 2003 Le Mans winner. Meantime, let's check in with some of the classes. And we'll start with GDC. Damien Faulkner is on his 115th lap, and he's turning laps at 55.7 last time around, which is something like, well, the best part of a second quicker than anyone else chasing him down. The 20 car's just gone out of the pit lane, but too many people working on the car, so that will be a stop and hold penalty, and that's going to be 20 seconds standing still. It'll seem like an hour for Stephen Kane sitting in that car as Damien Faulkner heads across the line in the 54 car, and he's got a 39.5-second lead on Dion Volmolka in second place.
Yeah, and Butch Leitzinger and Spencer Pumpelly in car numbers 23 and 66 respectively are also on the lead lap. Just there are those two, in fact.
Yeah.
The two cars just going out of the screen. Here is Damien Faulkner, our race leader in GT Challenge, car number 54, but just ahead of him on the road there, that is a battle for third and fourth, with Butch Leitzinger in the battery tender car just ahead for Alex Job Racing, and the blue and black car is Spencer Pumpelly. They are just still on the lead lap with that Black Swan Racing Spencer car.
Spencer Pumpelly and Butch Leitzinger, two very good drivers, and Damien is eating them up at the moment. And again, this is a critical part of what's going on in the race for GTC, because I'm not sure that all these guys are on exactly the same pit strategy. Some of them stopped during the yellows, some of them didn't, and I'm sure that Damien would like to put these guys a lap behind them, just in case the safety car comes out, or just in case he needs to have a little splash before the end of this race, which is in 48.5 minutes time. We've had 1 hour and 56.5 minutes here at Lime Rock Park as the leader goes by Damien, and the lead is down to 11.7 seconds. 48.1 from Klaus Graf last time around, 49.6 from Guy Smith, as the PC leader is in the pit lane out of third place overall. Elton Julian, nothing happening to that car because fuel's going in. They can't touch the car while that's happening.
And this is a marathon stint by Elton Julian. That car number 63 was started in this race by the by Eric Luck. So we saw, he was involved in some incidents early on, but he came in, made that pit stop. Elton Julian took over. And a pole sitter he was in that LMPT class for the first time in his career for Elton Julian, and he's done a marathon stint. He's going to stay in for the final 47 minutes of this race as well.
And back out onto the track, Stephen Kane has given up third place but retains his position in P1, as there is the number 11 Porsche.
It's Nick Ham.
That's unusual, actually. Yeah. Nick's normally a pretty safe pair of hands. And
his gold car, it is stunning, isn't it?
That must have taken them an age to apply that film. Now, did he get a touch? No.
He got a bit too close. Yeah, he got a bit too close. He expected the Robertson Racing 4 GT to pull away from himself out of the corner. It didn't do so, and Jeremy Dale is the team owner there for JDX Racing. Nick Ham just got on the power a little bit too soon and found himself caught out by the pace of David Robertson.
Jeremy Dale would never have made that
mistake,
and he will tell you that many times, I'm sure. Hello, Jeremy. It's good to have you back in the paddock, actually, mate.
Yes, he's been trying to put that JDX team.
Absolutely.
He himself and Harrison Bricks, two names have been around in sports car racing for a long, long time, and they put it together. A gorgeous-looking car. The car is based in Colorado, and they are. Just they get themselves up to speed. They've had a couple of different co-drivers in that car with Nick Ham, and they are showing very good pace. It's not going to be long before that car is going to be knocking on the door again.
Damien Faulkner a 101.8 last time around, and that's just being passed by other cars. You know, he's just having to get offline, and he's cost himself something like 4 or 5 seconds last time around, and this is the problem with being in the GTC category. And the Irishman, who's got a lot of Porsche experience, has really impressed me. And I've known Damien for a long time, Jeremy, and it's good to see him getting a chance. He hasn't always had a fair crack of the whip. Of course, he's been to the States before, and you've seen him run in the lights category of the single-seater formulas.
That's right. 10 years ago, he was third in the 01 Firestone Indy Lights Championship, had a couple of wins to his name, a former champion also in Formula Palmer Audi before that, and then since then he's been, as you say, a front-runner in Porsche Carrera Cup series, both in England and in the Super Cup in Europe for the last 6 or 7 years now. A lot of experience, as you say, in these Porsches.
And he's really adapted to this multiple class racing very, very well indeed.
Loving it too.
Oh, he's loving it. Big smile on his face all the time. He's quite a quiet character. You know, a lot of racing drivers, you tend to expect them to be very ebullient. He's a great lad, very funny, very dry Irish sense of humour, but perhaps a little bit too quiet in some respects. You've got to be a bit of a self-publicist, haven't you, when you're a racing driver? But what Damien has tended to do over the years, and it's really working for him now, thank goodness, is let his driving do the talking. And I thought he was outstanding at Silverstone. He basically won the race for this team with a mega stint in the middle of the race.
At Sebring.
Yeah,
he did, and he is a talent, and it's great to see him have this opportunity. Meantime, John Field in that number 37 Intersport car in LMP2 Challenge, they were running second place. They've got a long pit stop going on that for Intersport Racing. Don't know what the problem is there, but John Field is now dropped right out of contention in LMP Challenge.
Let's check in at the front of the field as we look to the leaders, and Guy Smith and Klaus Graf are having a phenomenal battle in LMP1. It was down to just under 10 seconds a couple of laps ago, but traffic has played its part, and Guy Smith in the G-Oil Mazda Lola Coupe is leading now by 14.2 seconds as he goes across the line and rips off a 47.6. That's another great lap from Guy Smith. Very close to the fastest lap of the race that he put in a little bit earlier on. He goes round the outside of the number 55 BMW that leads GT. Now, very, very interesting of what happened in the pits just a few moments ago. Let's go back and review it. Kelly and Jamie were down in the pit lane. So Guy Smith leading from Klaus Graf by 14 seconds. And just finishing off my thought there about the pit stops, they came in pretty much together. It looked like the 16 car had overshot the pit stop, but they managed to put that right and actually gained a little bit of time. It was a sharp stop by the Dyson team. Now let's remember the Corvettes, because they haven't had the brightest of days either, with both cars involved in an early accident that also claimed the 02 ESM Ferrari of Ed Brown, it was, wasn't it, driving that car, who got tipped into a spin by the 18 LMP2 car, that being the Performance Tech Motorsport. It was Jarrett Boone, wasn't it, who started that chain reaction off?
It was, and that car has since been taken over by Anthony Nicolosi, who's
done a good job, actually.
Well, he has. He's got himself back up to 11th place overall, 5th place in LMP Challenge, and he's not all that far behind John Bennett, who's just made a pit stop in the 05 car. Here we are.
Well, this is the second place car in GT. Jamie Howe is at the Lizards pit. Well, not hearing Jamie down there, but as we can see, it's a full 4-tyre stop, and that's another great stop from the Lizards as in comes the BMW from the lead of the race. This is the 55 of Dirk Muller. And that looks like a full set of Dunlop tyres as well for that car, Jeremy.
So as you can see, almost a lap lost by that pit stop there, because Jaguar Retirement was leaving the pit lane. This car was coming in, as you say, a driver change there.
It cost him any time because the fuel will still be going in the car. Now we say moving on to the tire change there, getting 4 new Dunlop tires put on this BMW. It'll be interesting to see where they come out now on pit road.
I think they may have done a slightly better job than the Lizards, he says.
Driver ID, go line.
And he's going to have to get up to speed, though, very, very quickly. Let's look in the background for the Lizards. Oh, now he's got his teammate behind him as well. That's going to be handy. Still can't see the Lizard. Still can't see the Lizard. In fact, the next car to come through is Wolf Hensler, who's now in second position in the GT category. And he, remember, can go all the way to the end, we think.
He hopes, certainly. There is that battle, meanwhile, for third and fourth in GT Challenge coming in to the uphill corner. There's the 66 car of Spencer Pumpelly trailing Butch Leitzinger in the battery tender car, coming now up towards West Bend for one more time. That battle continuing, and right in their mirrors now is going to be looming that Falcon Tires car of Wolf Hensler, who's running second place in GT.
17 car now up into second place in GT. And that is going to be a very interesting... There he is, Jeremy. There is the 17 car.
It's not far behind at all. 7 seconds was shown the gap that time around. So a fine stop by the BMW there, despite the fact Jörg Bergmeister, that stop for the Porsche looked pretty quick, but Bergmeister's come out about 9 seconds behind Wolf Hensler, behind this car that's in the middle of this sandwich here. The 2 GT Challenge cars sandwiching that Falcon Tires Porsche, and no sign behind him of Jörg Bergmeister.
He's
heads-up driving there from Butch Leitzinger to let Hensler go through on the inside into the uphill.
Bush is a class act, always has been. He's had some great runs round here. Another guy who would call this one of his local tracks.
Very much so.
Butch, for a long time, tied up with Dyson Racing, the guys from Poughkeepsie. And there is Wolf Hensler, and Hensler's come out of this rather well. He's just 9 seconds away from Dirk Muller leading, and Jörg Bergmeister is about another 7 seconds further back down the road. So Wolf Hensler now got a new set of Falcon tyres at his stop and a full tank of fuel. Now, here's what happened just a little earlier to that battle in the GTC category. Remember, that was Nick Ham getting spun around, and oh my goodness, everybody take a sharp intake of breath, and that was Gunnar Jeanette locking up as well there.
Yeah, and Damien Faulkner as well in the Black Swan Racing car.
Well, that's where he had the long start. That was where he had the 1:01 lap then that we said earlier on. That explains that.
Yep.
Tick that one off the list in terms of why did that happen. Great stuff by the guys on replay. Thank you very much indeed. Haven't missed a beat today, guys and girls. So now we know why Damien lost that time, but he's still 43 seconds ahead of Dion von Moltke in second place in the 68 GTC car. Butch Leitzinger and Spencer Pumpelly still having that quality battle for third place in GTC. Stephen Kane up to third place overall now. 4 laps off the lead, remember, after a stop-go and a bit of problems earlier on, but that is still a great debut for the Oryx Dyson Racing car. And the battle at the head of the field has Guy Smith still 15 seconds ahead of Klaus Graf. So Elton Julian, Gunnar Jeanette, Kyle Marcelli, first, second and third in LMPC, 63, 06 and 89. But I'm just watching Dirk Muller and Wolf Hensler trading tenths of seconds, and Jörg Bergmeister closing in as well. By no means could you say, Jeremy, that GT battle, 7th, 8th and 9th, 56 BMW, 17 and 45 Porsches, is over and done with, because any one of those 3 cars. Now, a team that we haven't seen too much of today. Now, we know that the 62, who have now retired, by the way, the 62 car, as in comes this is the 6 car, isn't it?
37.
The 37 car, excuse me. That's John Field's car.
What a shame. They were running so well there. John Field got that car up into second place. It was started by James Kovacic, the young Australian, just 17 years of age. He led the class early on, fell back to second and then third place, I think, before handing over to John Field. John got it back up to second, but now, as you can see, that car is out of the race. What a shame for John Field and James Kovacic and Intersport Racing. But they've still got another car in the field. Kyle Marcelli in the number 89 Intersport car running third place in LMP Challenge.
Sorry, I meant to say 6th in the class when that car came down, not the number 6. My apologies, I've been far too excited. Let me just pay off the Jamie Mello Racing Competizione story. A weekend in Connecticut to forget for them. They are now posted as an official retirement. Came into the pits almost 40 minutes ago. They had one further lap and then have gone back into the pits and will turn no further laps. Also, I don't think it's great news for the 98 RSR Jaguar or the 34. The 98 car hasn't turned a lap for about 5 or 6 minutes now, and in fact has been retired. That's just popped up now as a retirement. And Peter Lesafra, remember the Green Hornet car? We saw that car with a problem on that car with the right front corner broken, as we hear that the 37 has suffered a broken starter motor, and that's why it was being pushed away.
That's bad luck. That doesn't often happen on those cars.
No,
that's
they're
for sure.
pretty unbreakable.
Yeah, very, very disappointing for the number 37 team. In the meantime, we've still got Yeah, the score. I thought I saw a driver change there in that GT leading BMW, but for several laps after the pit stop, the scoring monitor was still showing Jörg Müller at the wheel.
Yes, it was.
Car
You're
number 56.
right.
I couldn't quite figure that out, but now it has switched over. Joey Hand is indeed back at the wheel of that car, and he's actually pulling away a little bit from Wolf Hensler. And Wolf Hensler now is going to come under pressure pretty soon from Jörg Bergmeister, because that gap has come down from about, well, I think it was 6 or 7 or 8 seconds not too long ago. It's now under 3 seconds. That's second and third in GT.
And Damien Faulkner getting rather too close to the back of the number 66 Spencer Pumpelly GTC car in third place as they're cutting their way through the field. He's trying to put a lap on both of... Oh, and off has gone the GMC Porsche, which
Alex
has...
Welch.
Yeah, he's had an eventful day, hasn't he, Alec?
Hasn't he just?
But he's regained the hard black bit of the circuit rather than the rather softer and dustier green bit.
Better idea.
Yeah, I'm not a driving expert, but hard black bit, more grip than softer green bit, I think.
Yeah, quite soft, particularly after all the rain we had yesterday and overnight as well. Wouldn't know it now looking at the pictures here from Lime Rock Park. Absolutely perfect.
It's like it's like we were on a different continent or in a whole different weather system. Faulkner again, we said this at Sebring about him, an absolute masterclass in how to drive a GTC class. He's been right up the tail end of the 20. Oh, and the 23 car looks to be pulling off to the inside. Is that a problem for Butch Leitzinger? Is he pit bound? I think he is. Yes, he is. He let the 66 car go. Again, great. Oh, no, he's gone through. He's got a problem there because the 66 of Spencer Pumpelly went through. I was just about to say, was he getting out of the way before he pitted? But it appears to me as though, once again, the 6 car takes the cutout. Klaus Graf there, forced wide perhaps in the uphill chicane. And he's going to have to be careful about that because you can't do that too many times without force majeure down there. And you do have to slow down. You're not allowed to gain advantage. As into the pits come Wolf Hensler, or has he just pulled out of the way of the faster prototype?
No, I think
he's gone into the pits. Hensler's in.
Oh boy, that's
so a miscalculation. Oh, is there a puncture on that car? They're looking at the right rear. We can't see it. We can't see the right rear, but there's a crew member down there. I think they've got a puncture on that car on the right rear.
There's a fair bit of fuel going on board there. I mean, they only stopped with just over an hour to go, so I'm surprised they would have needed that much.
No, it's just it's splash, but they've had to pull him back. They were having a look at that right rear, and there was heading hands there from the pits. I wonder, you know what it is? He thought he had a puncture, and they've had a look at that. It's just been pickup or something like that. Definitely fuel only. We're getting a report from the pits. He banged the steering wheel in frustration, and I just saw heading hands from the crew member on the right rear. I wonder if he thought he had a puncture there.
We heard after the previous pit stop they'd had some problems with the fuel pickup or something with the problem with the fuel system on that car. So maybe if it was a fuel pickup, maybe it wasn't, for some reason it's only picking up a half a tank of fuel or so.
Well, let's go down and find out the story because Jamie Howe has hustled down to the 17 Falcon Tyres pit and can give us the news on that unexpected and somewhat disappointing by the body language pit stop for the 17 car. Jamie?
Certainly a disappointing pit stop, unexpected. They knew it was going to be close. There was an hour and 10 left when they came in for their last pit stop. They know that they can do an hour and 8 safely. We haven't had any caution time. It's been nothing but green flag, and we've seen Wolf Hensler fighting hard, really burning through that fuel. So before we get to the end of the race and before it's too close to do anything, they wanted to go ahead and top off the fuel. They did check all 4 tires just to make sure everything was still in line, and Wolf Hensler is now good to go to the checkers.
Well, it's dropped him down to 3rd position in the GT category, but that's a bit of a miscalculation there. I think they would have thought they had a better car than that in PC category. Elton Julian 3rd overall, still leads from Gunnar Jeanette and Kyle Marcelli's another 22.7 seconds further behind. Hand from Bergmeister by 12.5 seconds in GT, and in GTC, Damien Faulkner is just blowing the opposition away in the Black Swan Racing number 54. And we haven't talked about Guy Smith for quite some time at the head of the field. That's because he's reeling the laps off. Another low 48 last time around from the Yorkshireman, the 16 car, pulling out now a very handy lead of 22.5 seconds on Klaus Graf in the number 6 That's the Aston Martin powered car in second place. 54 is into the pit lane and the engine covers come up as well. This is the leading car in GTC, so just after I've praised Damien Faulkner, the car's come in and it requires more than just a routine service to that Yokohama shod Black Swan racing car. I wonder if they're just topping up a little bit of oil there. Steam coming from the brakes, we expect to see that. And it looks like a new driver in that car. Does it fire? Almost. Get it fastened back on. Yeah, on, down, gone. Thank you and good night. Well, that is still Damien in the car. That was the Irish tricolour on the side of Damien's racing helmet, so no driver change. So what has happened there? Damien looking down, checking his belt. He definitely got a new drinks bottle. Has he had some kind of warning? But that has dropped him into second position. Oh, and off goes one of the Lola Mazdas.
I think that was Guy Smith, wasn't it? Was it?
It was the 20 car. But the 16 car was right there. Let's take a breath and remind ourselves that Guy Smith leads from Klaus Graf and Stephen Kane. Elton Julian in PC, Joey Hand and Spencer Pumpelly in the classes. Lime Rock Park, Connecticut is the venue for round number 3 of the American Le Mans Series. You're watching live on ESPN3.com with Jeremy Shaw, myself, John Hindhaugh, and hello to our new viewers too, syndicated across Europe on Motors TV and throughout Canada on Rogers Sportsnet 1, as we bring together a huge community of sports car enthusiasts watching the American Le Mans Series in its natural habitat, natural terrain. Road courses just don't get any prettier than this as we watch from on board the 01 Tequila Patron sponsored Extreme Speed Motorsport. Ferrari 458, which is sitting at the moment down in 4th place with Johannes van Overbeek, making a little bit of ground after one or two of the problems in the GT category. The man behind the team, of course, is Scott Sharp, and Scott has great history around this circuit, as does his family. Really, when it comes to racing in the Sharps, it's a family affair.
Literally, I grew up at Lime Rock. It feels like home. My mother started to bring me in. I sat on the hill when I was 6 months old and watched my dad drive. I started doing laps around here before I even had a license to drive on the regular road. So, ran Skip Barber all my early years here. So, it's really been a home track for me.
You know, back in the day when he started, we were here almost every Tuesday practicing and stuff. So, he sort of grew up around here.
For me, it's been an exciting transition from just being a driver to moving over to being a team owner as well. And one of the things that just prepped me so well is growing up around my dad owning a team. We just had this nightly banter that, unbeknownst to me, probably really educated me to make that next step up to team ownership.
So on board the 01 car, that is Johannes van Overbeek behind the wheel. It's been a learning curve for that team. Threw their hat in early with Ferrari and were lucky enough to get the 458 as quick as anybody, running the slats in the slots in the front part of that car, which we saw one or two people running at Le Mans. Slightly tweaked livery for that car, and it looks the absolute picture, doesn't it, as the leader Guy Smith comes along with Stephen Kane about to unlap himself. One of his couple of three. Oh, and he's been hit by Johannes van Overbeek in the schmozzle there going into turn 1, and that was quite a hefty thud. We heard it from the camera, and someone else has spun behind them in sympathy as well. And now Stephen's got to get the Mazda MZRR engine fired up, which he does do. Picks his spot, gets back on. Any damage to the left front of that car? He has a bit of weave and a wiggle. I don't think so. Now, is there anybody else off? No, just a lot of smoke as they're locked up, and one of the vets there getting right up on the curb. That, I think, is the 4 car circulating at the moment in the hands of Ollie Gavin. Oh, dear me, that was all a bit unnecessary, wasn't it? As we look towards the battle at the head of the GT field now. Wow. The 55 car is in between here. He's running backstop for the 56, which is just going into turn 1, and your Bergmeister's got to deal with this battled, scarred and bruised BMW, and he's not able to do it. And this is the advantage of having two cars on the circuit. We've seen Peugeot play these tactics very nicely in the prototype categories, where the second or third cars have been able to hold up the pursuers, or indeed at Le Mans the leader. And keep an eye out for the blue flags. They will be out there. We've got great flag marshals, and you can see just at the top of the picture as they go in here, the blue flag was being waved. And this is a car that is laps down. This is all over again, just like Le Mans. This time though it's the GT categories, proving there again the blue flag just being withdrawn there, it being waved at the 55. And that is, at the wheel of that car at the moment is Bill Oberlin. And at this point the Porsche is not in a position to be able to make a pass. And this is stifling Jörg Bergmeister. He's lost at least a second and a half, and now he goes through. He lost at least a second and a half on that last lap alone, and all of a sudden, from being 5.5, 4 seconds, Joey Hand has 8.5 seconds on that second place Porsche.
Yeah, and now that BMW has backed right off and got out of the way, and not very classy, quite frankly. It's all very well, I think, playing teammates. When you run in the same speed, that's fine. But when you're that far off the pace, just holding up the guys somewhat cynically, I'm not so sure about the ethics of that, but it's still, the battle isn't over yet.
And Dirk Mueller basically took the middle driving duties in that 56 BMW. When you were out there, you had a couple of Porsches all over the back of you, and now we see Jörg Bergmeister gaining some time again on Joey. What does this car have left in it? Can it hold it off?
Well, first of all, I have to say I had a fantastic stint. My BMW was absolutely lovely. It loved the Grecki and Lime Rock. The tires loved it. So I was in a sweet spot. I could control it, and luckily I did a lot of touring car in my past, so I knew, what to do with the traffic, how to judge the slower cars. Luckily we did 24 hours Nürburgring just recently. Right now it's looking good, but we need to cross fingers.
The gap was as close as 5 seconds. It stacked back down to 8 as Bill Oberlin maybe held up the Flying Lizard just a little bit. Do you think he was conscious and trying to help out his teammate there?
Well, Bill is driving his race, that's for sure. On the other hand, the 45, they can't complain about top speed or whatever. I think they just screwed it yesterday in qualifying and tried to blame us to be too quick. I think they have a really quick car and we need to push like crazy to stay ahead.
Thanks a lot, Dirk.
Jaguar off at the side of the circuit. Nicely handled, Kelly. Career in the diplomatic service is beckoning for Kelly Stavist. I think saw a Jaguar there. It must be the 99 car because that's the only one of the two still running. And yes, indeed, it is. That's... oh, no, who is that?
Cristiano.
It is Cristiano, not the usual helmet I was expecting to see there.
He's got back behind the wheel of that car. It's Bruno. He started off the race, Cristiano. He just wasn't happy. He dodged very, very few laps. He had a problem this morning in the warm-up. He wasn't really looking forward to the beginning of the race. He didn't do many laps at the beginning before handing over to Bruno Junqueira. Bruno then was running pretty well. And then since Cristiano Ronaldo got back in this car, he had been turning some good laps. But there are the double yellow flags. So for the second time in this race, we're going to go full course caution. It's going to be less than 15 minutes to go when we get the green flag again to the end of the race.
Quarter of an hour dash for cash. 25 seconds that Guy Smith had got the lead out to over Klaus Graf. He'll be absolutely gutted. And that Jaguar seems to be dead stick there, but I don't think anybody at Dyson will be happy about that. Now, there's just been a pass in the GT there for 4th position, just as the yellows came out. As the 04 goes past the 01. Oh, well, I think that's done. Well, it's not there. He backed off. So saw the yellows and backed off. I thought that was going to be a pass for position, but that's good driving by Van Overbeek and Lazaro there. They are battling.
Done well to get that car back up into 4th place.
Has he ever?
Yeah, because they came from quite a long way back there to get on terms with Anthony Lazaro in that Ford GT.
Well, let's find out what's happened to the big cat, Jamie Howe.
I just checked in with Paul Gentilozzi from Jaguar RSR, and he said right now the car will not refire. They had been having issues earlier in the race in their electronics. They're actually having to start the car on pit road by using a magnet, and right now out on the track he cannot get the car refired. They're going to do everything that they can to get it back around, but right now it's not looking good.
Thanks, Kelly. That car has had a lot of work in this mid-season break. The guys have had it in the wind tunnel, just been refining the shape of that XKRR. Also done some testing at Road Atlanta, and I really feel that, you know, Paul and John Gentilozzi have done a really good job getting this car to this part, to where it is right now. And I would really like to see somebody pick up and run with this. And if it's still RSR, then fine. But it clearly, you know, when you're up against the might, and I use that word advisedly, Jeremy, the might of the big factories like Ferrari and Porsche, then and BMW, then the manufacturer has to get involved. And, you know, Jaguar needs to make a decision about whether they want to back this car. They've got the new XKE, which is the small car coming out shortly, and maybe that will form the basis of a new race car. But for the moment, this is the racing Jaguar, and somebody at Coventry has got to decide whether they want to back it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great looking car, and, you know, they made a lot of progress with this car. Let's not lose sight of that fact as Cristiano gets towed back in again. Actually, is that Bruno? Yeah, it is Bruno, isn't it? Beg your pardon. So they've done a double switch in that car. They've changed drivers left and right, but the car's been turning some very competitive lap times. And yesterday in qualifying, Bruno Junqueira got that car to within a second of the best of the Porsches. So it was running some very competitive lap times. They made a lot of progress and just getting better and better and better, but they still do have lots of niggly problems. Yesterday they had a problem in the practice session. This morning the car was misfiring in the warm-up. And as you can see now, we've got some problems again in the race. But there's certainly some definite signs of improvement from Jaguar RSR Racing.
So Guy Smith leading behind the safety car, and Klaus Graf has closed in, but he's got cars between him. That is Klaus Graf just ahead of the 0-1 of Johannes van Overbeek. So the pits are opened for everyone this time around. I'm not sure anybody really needs it, to be honest. Guy Smith stays out, Klaus Graf stays out. Now let's see him as he goes across the line in about 2 or 3 seconds time. And how many? I cannot see the leader in that line. 9 seconds further up the road at safety car speed. There's a lot of cars between Guy Smith and Klaus Graf, and will we get the wave around for some of these cars that will clear out some of that traffic between the two Lola Coupes? The Aston Martin, perhaps with a slight advantage getting through traffic, even on a short track like this, Jeremy. It's got a bit more torque. It doesn't need to spool up the turbo, as does the small Mazda engine. That said, Guy Smith has done a cracking job in the last hour.
Yeah, as did Chris Dyson in the early stages of the race. He had the number 6 car all over his tail for the first, 30 laps or so, and did a marvellous job to keep ahead of it.
Agreed. I think we're seeing Chris coming back somewhere near to his best ever driving. He's taken on the running of the team, and it's bound to affect you slightly, but certainly in that first stint today, it put me in mind of him battling with JJ Leto up at Portland a few years ago, which had us on the edges of our seats and barely able to take a full breath for an hour and 40 minutes that day. And a track that is not dissimilar, although flatter than this, but it's a very tight and twisty track with one long straightaway, or one long straight, should I say. So Smith from Graf behind the safety car. Stephen Kane settling into third position in the Oryx Dyson racing car in third. So 3 Lola Coupes in the first 3, 2 with Mazda and 1 with Aston Martin power. In LMPC, Elton Julian leads, still on the lead lap though. Gunnar Jeanette 16 seconds back in the line, and thanks to Robert Thorne, our SCCA top performer from Littleton, Colorado, getting recognition from the Sports Car Club of America here this weekend. Only been a member since last year, but well done to him for his performances this weekend. in GT, Hand and Bergmeister in traffic, but both fueled to the end of the race. The Corvettes trying to pull their way back through, and in fairness, the 3 cars got back to 9th in class, the 4 cars got into 10th, so they will get some points for Corvette Racing.
Yeah, they've done well to get back there. That was a sterling work in the pits.
Great work.
By the entire team. And Hand and Bergmeister, there's about 7 or 8 cars between them. We're going to go back to green flag racing. There's 7 or 8 cars in between the leaders in GT, and it's about the same in P1 as well.
Oh yeah, and there's some quick cars in there as well, as the BMW leading GT tries to get a decent start and put more of those cars between himself and Jörg Bergmeister. I can see that the number 01 is there. Lazaro and the 01 are battling for 4th place in GT, right ahead of the 2nd place car, and that is not what Jörg Bergmeister wants to see. He wants a clear run through some GT cars. He doesn't want battling GT cars who are hard at it for position here, and Bergmeister goes down the inside to put another lap on Lazaro. There'll be a sigh of resignation there, as ahead of him, side by side, Johannes van Overbeek with the Dion von Moltke, I think that was, as he was going through. Yes, it was. And in fact, it was Spencer Pumpelly, it was the leader of GTC he was alongside. And Damien Faulkner's right there as well. A heck of a battle in GTC with only a couple of seconds. And there is Damien Faulkner just at the end of that line, coming off the final corner. And he's got the leader in his sight in GTC. We've got battles in 4 out of 4 classes for the lead. But of course, endurance racing is terribly boring. Everybody will tell you that.
No, it's been a very good race, hasn't it, this afternoon?
Oh.
Just excitement from start to finish, all the way up and down the field, and yeah, that is what this sort of racing is all about. And you can see that one of the LMP Challenge cars trying not to tuck in behind one of the Extreme Speed Motorsports cars. But here is Jörg Bergmeister. He's got his eyes set on Joey Hand. The gap as they came across the line last time was about 3.8 seconds. Just there, Hand went through West Bend. Here now comes Bergmeister. There in 5th place in the class is Anthony Lazaro in that yellow and silver Ford GT.
In GTC, Spencer Pumpelly is going to have to start looking in his mirrors, because shortly Damien Faulkner is going to be the man that is right there, just at the back of the line of cars as they come onto the start-finish straight. As off goes the Green Hornet car. Turn 1 has not been lucky for that car this weekend, as the 34 machine has another quick spin, and it's Jaap van Lagen, the ex-World Touring car, and also the GMG Motorsports Porsche has taken the old track, the track that we used here last year. That's James Sofranas. Well, no harm, no foul, other than a bit of gaffer tape. Now, this is on board with Damien Faulkner, 2nd in GTC on the Yokohama tyres. He's carving his way back towards Spencer Pumpelly, and he's just about 2 seconds behind him. He's got Marco Holzer between him. He's just dealt with Nick Ham there. Nick's having to go back, and that's a really stupid thing to do, because he's laps down. Nick Ham doesn't want to be there. That is not racing for position. And Faulkner will not have appreciated that at all, as he had to defend into West Bend. But look, the blue car. The blue car ahead is the leader in the class.
And just 2 cars behind also is the battery tender car with Butch Leitzinger and Dion von Moltke. So this 4-car battle we have for GT Challenge. There is the Black Swan car. Here is our leader in GT Challenge. That is Spencer Pumpelly in car number 66. And just a couple of seconds back down the road is, I think he lost a little bit of time in that traffic.
Yeah, but he's coming down.
Damien Faulkner, Butch Leitzinger and Dion von Moltke are basically nose to tail.
1st, 2nd, Damien Faulkner, and then there is Leitzinger.
3rd, and there's 4th right behind.
And there's 4th right there. That is the battle in the top 4. That is the podium. And here is the overall leader. Guy Smith, 10.5 seconds ahead of Klaus Graf. And again, this is danger for the leader of the race, because these guys are battling super hard.
Yeah, this has been a great battle in GT Challenge. Absolutely superb. There is the Peter Safra car, number 34, the Green Hornet. It was off the road. It's Jaap van Lagen driving that car now, and it was off the road at Big Bend a couple of laps ago. But here is this battle down into Big Bend. This time around is Butch Leitzinger, 3rd place, and right behind him there, the American-based South African is Dion von Moltke in that blue, black and yellow car.
Yeah, and that is a good run for them as he closes up onto the back of the battery tenders Alex Job racing car. And that is going to be a battle for the third place on the podium very shortly indeed. And we're going to get a great view out of the 0-1, which is Johannes van Overbeek, who is coming right up to them. Meantime, there is the leader in the class. Now, where is Faulkner? There he is! Faulkner with a bit of clear air now as the blue flags are waving, as this is the battle for the third place on the podium. That is Damien Faulkner as he comes out of the final corner. And look, just ahead you can see the distance going under the Lime Rock Bridge. This crowd is not moving anywhere in the afternoon sunshine. It's been a great battle for everyone, and the lead between Smith and Graf is down to under 10 seconds. In fact, under 9 seconds. It's 8.7. Stephen Kane in third position. And here is Johannes van Overbeek in the 0-1. That now is Damien Faulkner as he goes through the uphill chicane. Look ahead, look ahead. Jeremy's closing on him. He's definitely closing on him. It's just 3 seconds now.
It's about the same last time around, very close on lap times. As Damien Faulkner comes down the hill, you can see
somebody coming up alongside him. Watch to the right here. He had a big blue flag there. That must be one of the leaders. Oh, it'll be the 0-1. It is one of the leaders. It's the Stephen Kane car that goes through. Watch for the Ferrari coming through as well on the right-hand side. It's not what Damien wants to see. He wants clear track ahead of him.
Across the line this time, Spencer Pumpelly in the leading car. The car just 2 cars ahead of us here on the road as we're on board with Damien Faulkner. Spencer Pumpelly did 57.5 last time around. Damien Faulkner 57.7.
But the leader has had to give some ground there, Jeremy, as he let through the prototype of Stephen Kane. Let's go back to the head of the field, and this is Guy Smith in the lead, carving his way past GT car after GT car. Next up, it will be the 44 Flying Lizards. Oh, and in comes the Flying Lizard number 45. Jamie is down there. This is a disaster for them at the end of the race. Jamie.
Bergmeister already back out and underway. It was a left front tire that he needed. That one went flat. They don't know if it's from contact going on over curbing. Not quite sure, but that part of the car does receive the most pressure here at Lime Rock Park. Everyone at Flying Lizard right now shaking their heads in disappointment.
And that stops the charge to the head of the field.
It does, but they are, I think, still going to maintain second place in the class because they've got a lap now over Wolf Hensler, who is third in GT. Anthony Lazzaro has snuck back past Johannes van Overbeek too, so that battle between the Ford GT, the 04 car, and the 01 Ferrari of Johannes van Overbeek, that has changed once again, and they are not too far behind Wolf Hensler either. But here is Jörg Bergmeister. He's pretty much, unless anything else disastrous happens to the class-leading BMW of Joey Hand at the wheel of car number 56. It's going to be second place for Jörg Bergmeister. Looks like his streak of wins here might come to an end, but still, it's been a sterling effort by this Flying Lizard team.
17 seconds now at the head of the field. Klaus Graf and Guy Smith. Stephen Kane lapping quicker than both of them, and by a considerable margin. Stephen Kane carving his way back through. Remember, that car started in the pit lane. They've had a few trials and tribulations. We're into the last 5 minutes of the third round of the American Le Mans Series. It's the Northeast Grand Prix, live here from Lime Rock Park on ESPN3, Motors TV and Rogers Sportsnet 1. There is Joey Hand leading the GT category. Bit of vibration on that camera, and that is unusual. We saw this in the BMWs and the Nürburgring as well, so perhaps not worrying too much about that. Maybe he was just on a rough part of the circuit or on a bit of a curb, but he looks fairly relaxed there. So the BMW of Joey Hand, what a year Joey's had.
Damien Faulkner was off the road there, I think. That was a big puff of dust on the exit of the downhill. Here comes Damien Faulkner. On the inside of him, going through, is Wolf Hensler, third place in GT. And here...
And that's the 23 car as well.
Right.
That is third place in the category. That's Butch Leitzinger.
Yeah, he's fallen. Yeah, Dion van Moltke now is up into second place. So I think that mistake there by Damien Faulkner, he seemed to run off the road.
Yes, he has. He's lost second place. Yes, he's lost second place.
I think, maybe.
Lighting is right there with him.
Right with him, you're right.
So that was a mistake by the hard-charging Damien Faulkner. And he went off in a cloud of dust on the exit of the final corner. Now, is there a problem with that car? He was being passed, and he's clearly slightly frustrated because he's trying to get clear and get after Pumpelly and now Von Moltke. He's still only a second away from Von Moltke. Look for the other blue car just ahead of this battle we're watching. Now, there it is, just going down into turn 1 with Wolf Hensler right behind him. And this is the problem for the GTC cars. They can carry just as much speed through the centre of the corners if they don't get held up. Oh, Damien's got a problem. I think Damo's got a problem there. Maybe he's got a missing gear, but he's not punching through the middles of the corner at all well. Now, what was his last lap time? Well, 58.9's not out of it.
No, and that was with a mistake on the previous one.
Good point.
Cost him momentum going into that lap.
Pumpelly leads in the 66. This car, this blue car here that you're looking at, is second in GTC. The white car, the BMW, is first in GT. And Wolf Hensler's up into third and pulling away from Anthony Lazzaro in fourth, who is still battling but beginning to pull away and break the toe between himself and Johannes van Overbeek. Two big results there if they can continue that in the next couple of minutes, Jeremy.
Yeah, I tell you what, Wolf Hensler's actually not going as fast as he was a few laps ago. A couple of relatively slow laps, and Anthony Lazzaro is not too far now behind in that battle for third and fourth.
Now, here is where Anthony Lazzaro went through into fourth place in the GT battle. We've seen a couple of brave manoeuvres there. Look to the right-hand side here of Johannes van Overbeek, and there goes Anthony Lazzaro into fourth place in class, and he's got an outside chance, even in the last 2 minutes, Jeremy, of getting on the podium in that Robertson Ford.
Yeah, he is flying. He's 53.3 last time around. That's just about exactly the same time as Jörg Bergmeister, who's running second in the class. Joey Hand, he's cut down his pace a little bit because he knows he's got a handy lead in the GT category in that BMW car number 56, but here comes Anthony Lazzaro now. He's going past Damien Faulkner. The gap from Faulkner to Butch Leitzinger is not far behind them.
And there is the 3 bright lights on the side of the Falcon car, which tells us that he is in third position. This will be their best finish ever if Wolf Hensler can bring this car home, and they get our battery tender hard charger award here at Lime Rock. Well deserved.
Absolutely right. I mean, they had a fabulous fourth place finish at Long Beach last time out. That was their career best since coming into the season, into the series full time last year, and now they're going to look to go one better than that. The white flag is out. Just 1 lap to go for Guy Smith.
1.5 miles as indicated by the white flag in the hand of our start marshal Dennis Paul. And Guy Smith, remember, had his first win in the American Le Mans Series relatively recently, just last season at Mid-Ohio. Amazing to believe that he's been in here that long, and he first pole too as well, I think. And he has done a great job for Dyson. Chris Dyson, what a first stint that was, with all the pressure from the Aston Martin powered Lola Coupe. What a day for Huntingdon. First, second and third for Lola Coupes, as through to win the Northeast Grand Prix in the third round of the American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, is Guy Smith for the local team. They've done it again on home ground, and Dyson Racing win here at Lime Rock Park. Klaus Graf will come through in second place. So the tables are turned on the big engined Aston Martin powered car from last year in GT. Joey Hand will make it another BMW victory.
Great job, guys.
Fantastic victory for Rahal Letterman Lanigan.
That was Bobby Rahal on the radio there to Joey Hand. Fabulous job indeed. A third win in succession for BMW this season, and for BMW Rahal Letterman Racing, and the second win this season for Guy Smith and Dyson Racing as well.
And in LMPC, it's very close on the last lap around. Elton Julian and Gunnar Jeanette were absolutely together as they went across the line to start the last lap. Just 2 seconds between them. There is Bobby Rahal. So happy, he banged his head in delight as he got down from the perch on the pit lane.
And look, in GT Challenge,
Dion von Moltke has taken the lead. Spencer Pumpelly drops to second. Leitzinger's up to third. Damien Faulkner to fourth. Massive changes on the last lap in GT Challenge, which I actually don't know what happened, to be quite honest. But Wolf Hensler will bring the third place GT car home, and Andy Lazzaro by just 0.043 of a second in fourth. Very tight, and another great almost podium for Robertson Racing and Ford, backing up their podium at Le Mans, of course, 4 weeks ago. We'll be with the winners, there'll be tears, there'll be smiles, and we'll get the story of the race when we come back to the American Le Mans Series Northeast Grand Prix. Well, take a breath, because the last 10 minutes of that American Le Mans Series Round 3 has proved just as exciting as the first hour. Guy Smith wins it overall and in P1 from Elton Julian in PC, and Joey Hand make it 3 for 3. Dion von Moltke steals the win in GTC at the end. But let's go to the guys at the head of the field. They crossed the line first. A great result for Guy Smith and for Chris Dyson with Kelly.
Well, they've won overall on their home track, and Guy Smith, you told me earlier that you were looking forward to getting back to your day job, which is driving the 16 Dyson Mazda. Well, welcome back.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I've really missed this team. Missed this team and this car. It's been fantastic, and as you say, back to the day job, and no better way to go back to it than with a win. Lime Rock Park, it's our local track. It's a circuit that we obviously want to do well at, and I'm just so pleased for the team and for Chris, Mazda, Gio, Mod Space, because bringing them to victory lane is a big deal.
Sort of the beginning of the second half of the season, how much confidence and momentum can you take away from this win here at Lime Rock?
Well, a lot really. I mean, we've been building all year long. Each race, I think we've got better and better. Long Beach, we had the pace in qualifying, but not quite the pace in the race. So we've really looked at that over this break to see how we can not only do a good job in qualifying, but make a better race car. And credit to all the engineers at Dyson Racing, because they gave us a great car, and it made my job very easy.
Well, congratulations to Guy Smith and Chris Dyson. Jamie has our GT winner.
Yes, Joey Hand just pulled the car to a stop. Joey, 3 in a row. How hard did you have to push to get the win today?
Oh, we had to push hard at the end, but we had a great BMW from Team RLL, and Dunlop tires were awesome. I mean, they, it was just a great balanced race car, and I tell these guys, give me a balanced race car, we can do a lot with it. I was very comfortable. Everybody knows what happens when I get comfortable, so I just happy to have all the BMW people at our home track. Finally, I think we won with the ALMS car here in Lime Rock, and we got Crown Plaza people here, we got Dunlop people, we got all these people, and it's I'll tell you, this is a great place to win. It's my East Coast home track,
A big advantage for this driving duo is that Dirk Mueller and Joey Hand, they like the same setup in a race car. Dirk, how big of an advantage is that?
That's I think the biggest advantage you can have. I mean, you could have seen already last year, we came together, and it always needs a little time, to really work spot on. And I think what's at that level we are right now, it's unbelievable. It doesn't really matter that we qualify or we start the race. The strategy is perfect. And by the way, Scott, get well soon, and we need you here.
Our principal Remke, he's so male, we want him here.
Scott Remke not here this weekend, but BMW bringing home another win. Congratulations.
Magic stuff for BMW. Perfect with the M3 going 3 for 3 in 2011. They are the car to beat. Haven't had perhaps the luck at Le Mans and in Europe, but here in America they are stamping their authority on the American Le Mans Series for 2011. I've just done a quick bit of mental arithmetic, and the gaps between first and second in all 4 classes, if you total them together, are a little over 45 seconds. That's less than a full-speed racing lap around this circuit. So less than 1.5 miles in true time separated first and second in all 4 classes, totaled together. That's sports car racing at the kind of level that we've seen here this afternoon at Lime Rock Park. A bit of incident in the GTC category as Dion von Moltke has taken that victory, and we'll talk to him shortly. But first, let's go down to 4th place overall. Elton Julian wins it from his old teammate Gunnar Jeanette by just 2.2 seconds for Genoa Racing.
We saw an exciting battle in that LMPC category, and Elton Julian and Eric Lux took it home. How exciting is it to win a battle like that out here?
It's good fun, I mean, it's a track I won at last year, so it's pretty cool to repeat. And Eric did a great job in the first stint. Things weren't difficult for him. He didn't get a lot of laps this weekend because of the conditions, and he brought it to me in one piece, and we did what we could to get the win. And it was a good battle with Gunnar. That's good fun because we had to wait a whole year to do that, so I think we both enjoyed that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was good stuff. And the Genoa Racing team.
Yeah, it's the 5th win for Elton Julian. The first win, however, in ALMS competition for Eric Lux, and it was a fine job by Genoa Racing. That car has been quick all season long, and I'm sure for Elton Julian, the extra salary, the guy with whom he won this race last year, Gunnar Jeanette.
Now, just in the middle of the shot, the 68 car with Jamie Howe standing next to Dion von Moltke. Find out what happened in the last 2 laps, Jamie.
Yes, Dion von Moltke, Mike Piera driving together for the first time this weekend, bringing it home for the win. It was an exciting last couple of laps. What was the team telling you?
They were just saying, keep pushing, keep pushing. I was hot, my back was hurting. You know, I got to say, this team, TRG, did it for me. The great pit work all season long. We have PR Newswire here. I'm so happy for them and South African Airways. Great job all around. TRG, what can I say? Just a great drive by me and Mike, and the whole team just did a perfect job. Gave me the car to win, and I got to give it all to them. They made it happen for me.
It's all about teamwork. Congratulations.
1-2 for TRG. So there's a team who'll be celebrating late into this beautiful summer's evening here at Lime Rock. And it all changed around in GTCs. Pumpelly down to second, Butch lighting it up to third, and Damien Faulkner with a shot at the lead with 5 minutes to go ends up in 4th position for Black Swan.
That's right, and Black Swan, they won the first 2 races of the season. They won last year's championship as well, but TRG, the racers group, Kevin Buckler and the boys there, they've run a magnificent operation. They've got 1st and 2nd here with Spencer Pumpelly finishing in 2nd place with Duncan Ender after that battle. And you know, this is only Dion von Moltke's 3rd ever ALMS start. It's the 1st ever for Mike Piera, his co-driver there, who was only nominated this drive earlier on this week. So for the man there from Westport, Connecticut, a local guy, Mike Piera, so for him to come away with a win in his first ALMS start, and I must admit, I'd never even heard of him before this weekend, but he didn't drive a whole heck of a lot in the race, it must be said. Dion von Moltke did the lion's share, but still it is a teamwork that gets that job done.
Well, as the cars are pushed away, once again, the fabulous guys in the truck and the tape guys, I know it's digital now, but we still call them the tape guys, have pulled this out. Now watch in the background the 17, Wolf Hensler, and the 04. A big touch there as Hensler moves across first to the left and then to the right. The margin of victory, or the margin at the line, was 0.043 of a second. I think Anthony Lazzaro might feel a little bit hard done by as he was getting the run coming out of that final corner.
I think you're right, as you say there, 0.043, so there must have been absolutely not even nose to tail. They must have been alongside each other as they crossed the line. And Wolf Hensler, they're being very defensive coming off that final turn, and it's a best ever finish for both of those teams in this series.
2nd position today, the best for the Porsche of the Flying Lizards team. Jörg Bergmeister brought it home. Pat Long did the work in the early stages. It could have been better for them. 20 seconds away from the BMW at the end. Kelly is with Pat Long.
At times it looked like this 45 Flying Lizard Porsche had a shot at taking the lead, but instead that 56 BMW takes its 3rd win in a row. Patrick Long, what's it going to take to beat that team?
Well, I don't know. They're doing a good job. They've got a lot of performance, but today I think we had the strategy and the pace. Unfortunately, there we had a puncture right at the end when Jörg was closing in, but before that, that yellow put a bunch of cars between us, and we didn't have any help from their sister car, the 55, so we don't know if that was the driver or the team calling that shot, but, you know, it always, what goes around comes around, but we had a great day. The really good thing was that some of our competition had a tough day with some incidents, and that enabled us to get a lot of points back that we needed after a rough start. So unfortunately, 2nd place is never what we want, but it was a big day for points, so today was a good 2nd place.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
Well, news coming to us right here and now that there has been a penalty assessed for that replay that we've just seen, not because we played the replay, but because the stewards were already looking at it. Here it is again, Jeremy. The 2 cars battling for 3rd place in GT.
That's right, and look to the Anthony Lazzaro got a good run off the downhill turn. The diving turn looks to go around the outside, and Wolf Hensler just drove right across his nose. You could see the contact between those 2 cars.
Then he's
gone and then he goes all the way across the right-hand side of the track and then back to the left as well as they cross the line. So Wolf there getting penalised, we believe, for that very forceful attempt to hold on to what would have been that team's 1st ever podium finish.
A 90-second penalty for Wolf Hensler will drop him down out of the top 5 of GT.
It'll drop into 5th place because he still had a lap over Bryce Miller in 6th.
Indeed, he'll drop down to 5th place as Van Overbeek goes to 4th place, and Anthony Lazaro gets the best result ever for the Robertson Racing GT. Next up for the American Le Mans Series, north of the border to Bowmanville, Ontario, another fabulous parkland circuit on ESPN3.com and ESPN2. Make sure you put the 23rd and 24th of July in your diary right now, because you don't want to miss another 2 hours and 45 minutes of the kind of action that we've just seen here at the Northeast Grand Prix at Connecticut. It's been a barnstormer. I've enjoyed it. Jeremy Shaw alongside me is still just about getting his heart rate down to normal. Thanks to Kelly and to Jamie in the pits. I'm John Hindhoff. I hope you've enjoyed what we've shown you here from the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron. And, well, we're off to just cool down a little bit and have a chat with the winners and the losers on ESPN3.com, on Motors TV and at Rogers Sportnet 1. I'm John Hindhoff. Thanks for joining us. Come back and see us again. But for the moment, from Lime Rock Park, Connecticut, it's bye for now.